Heavenly Father, today we put on the full armor to protect us against attack. We put on the belt of truth to protect against lies and deception. We put on the breastplate of righteousness to protect our hearts from the temptations. We put the gospel of peace on our feet to walk in your light, peace, and freedom with the Holy Spirit. We rebuke anxious thoughts. We take up your shield of faith for protection to block and destroy all the darts and threats thrown at us by the enemy. We put on the helmet of salvation to cover our minds and thoughts, reminding us that we are children of a mighty King. We are forgiven, set free, saved by the blood of Jesus. We take up the sword of the Spirit, your living word, that has the power to demolish strongholds and is sharper than any double-edged sword. We come to you, Lord, in prayer daily. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. What's up, you guys? Welcome to The Imagination. I'm your host, Emma, and today we are welcomed back by podcast regular, rape, trafficking, and abduction survivor, overcomer, and warrior, devoted wife, and loving mother, podcast host, content creator, author and blogger, singer and performer, vocal coach, entrepreneur, Epstein, Trump, and Ghislane Maxwell Recruit, beauty queen, past and present, and someone I've been so honored to call a long-term friend, Molly Skye Brown. A little bit about Molly if you're new here, if you need a recap of what we've talked about on previous episodes, and also a little bit about what we will be discussing today. Born in the sun-soaked suburbs of California, Molly Skye Brown entered the world with a voice destined to echo far beyond her years. From a young age, she was a prodigy, an honor student, classically trained vocalist, and aspiring lawyer with dreams as vast as the Atlantic horizon. But beneath this promising facade lurked early shadows of horror. At just 9 years old, Molly endured a brutal rape, the first in a series of assaults that would test her resilience to its core. Raised in a family that moved frequently, she faced bullying and isolation, yet she channeled her energy into academics, debate teams, and the morning news anchor role at school. Modeling scouts noticed her natural blonde beauty and her poise, but her protective father, aware of Hollywood's perils, steered her away from the industry's traps. Little did she know, however, those traps were already closing in. The first brush with the Epstein Maxwell web came in 1992, when Molly was only 14 or 15, working at a local gym to earn a free membership. Dressed modestly in a sports bra and shorts after her shift, she caught the eye of Ghislane Maxwell, who approached her with a business card and a predatory gleam. Quote, "You could easily pass for 18, Maxwell said, dangling offers of Victoria's Secret modeling gigs, complete with international travel and massages. The words raised red flags for the perceptive teen. Molly had no interest in what she saw as a gateway to exploitation for things like Playboy. She pocketed the card but never called, confiding in no one, not even her parents. Unbeknownst to her, this encounter was a harbinger of the elite's insidious recruitment tactics, targeting vulnerable young girls with promises of glamour to mask coercion. Trauma compounded in Molly's late teens and early 20s. Abducted and raped by a producer at an MTV event in 2000, she spiraled into depression, flunking out of school and hiding her pain. A year later, haunted by suicidal ideations on the assault's anniversary, she checked into Columbia Hospital in Palm Beach for help. There, fate twisted cruelly. Her roommate was Lisa Villeneuve, a 19-year-old recruiter born into the trafficking world who outranked her own parents in their shadowy hierarchy. Lisa befriended Molly, learning of her vulnerabilities, and soon lured her into the Epstein orbit under the guise of friendship. In late 2001, shortly after 9/11, Lisa drove Molly to Epstein's Palm Beach mansion for what was pitched as a casual holiday gathering. Instead, it was a meticulously orchestrated matchmaking event, a marketplace of exploitation where young women were paraded before wealthy men. Repulsed, Molly resisted, noting the red flags, the drug offers, the private meetings, and even the young girl asleep in a red-lit room amid making out adults. As the party escalated, Maxwell descended a spiral staircase and announced a spillover to Mar-a-Lago, courtesy of a personal invitation from Donald Trump. Lisa blocked Molly's path, warning, "It gets rough quick. They're just looking for prostitutes." Undeterred by the allure, Molly escaped the night unscathed. She pivoted to a stable life, marrying her husband of over 20 years, raising a son, and working in telecommunications. But the past resurfaced in 2019 when news of Epstein's arrest triggered memories. Molly pieced together the puzzle. The gym recruiter was Maxwell. The party was a trafficking hub. Speaking out on social media and podcasts, she faced vicious backlash and endless harassment from alleged Epstein victims and survivors, which is what we will be talking about and exposing today, along with her revelations about Trump, Maxwell, and Epstein, and the information that has been deliberately suppressed and covered up through the limited hangout Epstein files and narrative controlled by mainstream media and mainstream alt media. Molly's voice has been silenced for a reason. The information she has been presenting and that you will be hearing today completely rips through the mainstream narrative, shining a light on what's been hidden in the darkness. Crimes against children, MK Ultra mind control, breeding programs, the dark connections to Trump's modeling agency, and the tightly controlled narrative of which Epstein, Trump, and Maxwell survivors' voices are allowed to be heard and amplified, and which ones are not. Today, Molly is a force of reform. Through her blog, podcast, and social media, she advocates for whistleblower protections, law changes, and exposes broader conspiracies, from organ harvesting at Epstein's Zora Ranch to satanic networks. Despite gang stalking, family estrangement, and a pending trial for her MTV rapist funded by Time's Up, she remains in weekly trauma therapy, karmically protected by her unshakable faith. Quote, "I feel like a sacrificial lamb," she says, "but I give a damn about protecting the next generations," unquote. Molly's story is more than survival. It's a revolution. In the face of cognitive dissonance and elite impunity, she embodies the prophecy she holds dear. The meek shall inherit the earth. By speaking truth to power, she binds the beasts of corruption, paving the way for 1,000 years of peace. Her voice, once silenced, now roars eternal, reminding us that from the depths of darkness, heroes rise. So you guys, without further ado, please help me in welcoming back today's guest of honor, survivor, overcomer, warrioress, walking miracle, fierce mama bear, survivor advocate, woman of God, one of my personal heroes and inspirations, and an absolutely courageous woman using her voice to bring and sing harmony and justice to what's been corrupted and occulted. The one, the only, Molly Skye Brown. Molly, it is an honor to have you back again today. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're so sweet. My God, you are so good at that. Every time you do it, I'm like, geez, she's better than ChatGPT. Who am I?
My gosh, I love you so much, Molly. We were just talking right before we came on. Like, you have just been, and I just want people to hear this, you have been such a steady rock for me throughout my journey. And even in the first year of podcasting, I got so much, lashback and trolling myself, and it was so new to me. And you were the person that I contacted in those early years, all the way up till now. But I thought Molly will know what to say to me in these moments when I'm shutting down. And you were always just a kick in the ass. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I just want you to know how much your message resonates with my listeners, with your listeners, with listeners abroad, people you don't even know, that you inspire to keep going, because you're living through that example yourself. You've been through so much, and we all see that. We've gone through the journey with you. We've watched you rise. And you're giving other people the courage to keep going when they're shutting down and don't want to keep going. And so I just want to thank you for being such a steadfast friend, advocate, and for all the work that you do. I know it can be so thankless, but we are also grateful for you.
Thank you. You're so sweet. I have met so many hidden survivors. It was really, really lonely at first, but I've always had a plan since I was little. I was going to speak up, and I wasn't going to let anyone stop me. I started over on Facebook, and all the boomers are like, TMI, this is personal business. And I'm like, no, it is not, boomer. Get me an attorney. Who's an adult? Is there anyone that's an adult? So got off the boomer Facebook, went over to Twitter, and found a lot more people, but then also found a lot of insanity as well. But I just want people to know that there are more of us than there are of them. That's why I have this confidence. They're going to run out of militia. They're going to run out of sycophants and bootlickers, because that's how history always has shown us empires toppling inward as they get too greedy, too stupid, too big, too fast, too quick, and they run out of people. So that's why I love encouraging people to meet, speak, whether you believe in prophecy, if you follow that folklore of Earth, or if you follow history, if you're more logical and factual based, even though the Bible has a lot of factual based stuff in it to show, that it is a collective. It's like a blog from the old days, a collection of people blogging is how we need to read it. And then the red parts are Jesus's parts, which is what we should be following. And we really never do, especially if you're a right-wing Christian. They have turned him into white Jesus when he was a Palestinian protester of occupied Palestine in that day too. And then the Romans killed him with the Sanhedrin help of the council. And then Roman Catholicism took over and then became the Freemason organizations because they were the Knight Templars. And it's just like, we've never gotten the ball back.
100%. Yes.
And now they're all exposed. And that's the beautiful part of the prophecy too. I went to Catholic school, and the first one I went to in California was the Carmel Mission. And we were just talking about this before. It was basically like a concentration camp for indigenous people. There were mass graves there, baby graves. I remember asking the nuns about them when they'd take us on tours. There's a whole museum and stuff. And indigenous people protest there all the time. The Catholic boys can be very rude, as we've seen with the original MAGA. I don't know if you remember when the Jesuit boys were all coming out and like being really aggressive to the American Indians. And the history, basically shows that that's what happens too, is these monsters show up and we're very passive. The meek are passive people. We don't want to fight. We just want to exist. Get off my neck. You can exist. We can exist, but they don't want us to exist. So they forced us into this position that none of us are happy with. They've hijacked all of our lives. MK Ultra has taken over the planet. The PSYOP is out of the bag. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but a while ago, Pete Hegseth even said, we're not calling things operations anymore. They're PSYOPs. We're going back to PSYOP. And I'm like, they're saying all the quiet parts out loud. So that's the fun thing, is that they're very stupid. They're very sloppy. They're very drunk. So we have all of that in our favor, that they're really, really sloppy. Even with this 3 million page drop yesterday, so sloppy. I mean, somehow one document stood out as being taken out of the mix and then put back in. And my 3 calls just happened to be on that document. And it was just like, thank you for putting more attention. And that's what they do. They draw more attention to themselves because they're so sloppy and they don't know what they're doing. And that is to our advantage. Look, we were able to unredact things because they don't even know how to redact. These are boomers that don't know software. They're just going to sex blackmail parties and having cocktails. Like, we can take them. We got this. We're going to bind them. And the way that we do that, it's not even fighting them so much head to head. We have to build the new grid. We have to learn how can we make the energy grid sustain if the boomers turn it off? If the boomers turn off the internet, the young peoples who run the internet and run the electric and run all of this, can they just switch the grid over and don't let these people do what they do in all these other countries, make it blackout, turn off our communications and stuff? We've had civil wars here. We had the Revolutionary War. We're willing to fight for our rights to exist freely. I mean, America was advertised this way. So, and I'm just really loving all the MAGAs that are turning against. Like, most of MAGA is not even pro-Trump. There's now a division of patriots are not pro-Trump. They don't seem to be pro-Trump as much anymore, unless you're a white nationalist, unless you're a Yahtzee, unless you're a Zionist, then absolutely you fall into that category. But so many MAGA are pissed because this is not what they voted for in the slightest. And they're finally seeing, after drinking liberal tears for so long, they're finally seeing that we're saying it's both sides. I mean, it's absolutely both sides. I tried to get help during the Biden administration. I tried to get help during the Trump administration. It was scarier for me with the Trump administration just because I was reporting going to a Trump party where compromat was present and trafficking. And they give me a lot of details about honeypot contracts because I was offered to. So yes, I just feel like and when I say history repeating itself, I feel safer with all my evidence out there from watching history, watching Puff Daddy, watching Kim Porter, if you sit on the truth, if you hide it and you don't share any of it to protect you, that it's out, like, don't have a kill switch, have a fucking right now switch. Yes. Put it out there. You're safer with it out there, because if anything happens to you, then it links back to, oh, fuck, she was talking about XYZ. Now we have a lead. Whereas if you sit on it and die of pneumonia, we don't know. Right. You don't want to give them opportunity to take you out. You want to say, wanted poster, here's your fucking information. Come if you want. You're a dumbass if you do.
Yes.
Agreed. And I feel like that made me very safe doing that. And everyone was, I remember my whole family, like, Molly, you're going to get sued. And I'm like, then fucking sue me. Like, they took everything. Go for it. They can't take blood.
Yeah, you've like been wanting to be sued so you can go present all the evidence.
I wanted to be an attorney. I'm not afraid of court. Are you kidding me? Which I just re-enrolled in school, having flunked out so many years ago, my senior year. I actually have enough credits to graduate. ChatGPT helped me figure all that out. And I'm going to go back to law school, or I'm going to go to law school. Good so very excited because I have work to do.
Yes, you'd be phenomenal.
And I'm even seeing I'm stonewalled. We don't have attorneys. Where are the fucking civil rights attorneys? Where are all the good attorneys? I never see anyone say, call me. Let's class action sue. Let's get together. No, it's still, I don't get invited anywhere, but the Epstein network, ex-girlfriends, ex-recruiters, ex-employees, they get all the limelight. And it's like, I thought Epstein was raping 3 girls a day, 3 new girls a day. That's thousands a year. And we have like 10 people we've allowed to be the face of it. And then that leads us into the harassment stuff, which the files are amazing records of what you and I know to be true, what you and I experienced, what's on my blog and curated and has links to still existing horrific terror type trolling, intimidation. Maria Farmer kept saying she was going to sue me. She lied twice publicly and said she had sent me 2 cease and desist, to the point where her entire following thought they had sent 2 cease and desist. And I'm like, I never got one. Can you show me what it looks like, where you sent it? That's the thing. She would never show anything. And when I originally came out, I was very supportive of Maria Farmer. And then she turned on me. And the first thing she said to me was like, she goes, I don't know where you came from, but you're suddenly ubiquitous with Epstein, and you're trying to crash our party and crash our party and steal our sob story or something like that. And it was just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Very unresponsive.
I was a nobody because I wasn't really trafficked in that event. And I was like, dude, I am a network survivor through the industry, through living in Palm Beach, through living in Pebble Beach. Monterey Bay is another one of the most if you look it up, it's one of the biggest hubs for trafficking there, and it's underreported.
For sure.
It's rich. It's Palm Beach. Monterey County is basically the same as Palm Beach County.
100%.
And my dad, being born in Hollywood, literally raised us there because he wanted to protect all of his kids, especially his little girl, from the terrors of LA. His older brothers hung out with Hefner. They were bringing bunnies to JFK. I would hear all these things at the dinner, and my dad didn't really talk. He was the black sheep of the family too. So that's where I get it from.
And we love you for it, Molly.
He did too. He was like, I'll pay for law school if you just go. I'm like, all right, that sounds good.
And so let's reverse engineer your story a little bit. There's a lot of current events, and I want to tie all of that in. Some people are very new to either my podcast or your story. Sure. I detailed some of what happened.
You really did a good job.
If you want to fill in any gaps or anything that I did not cover, that's important for what we're going to be talking about today with all the current events. Go ahead and fill anything in from those specific events, and then your encounters with Maxwell.
Well, in your original thing, you said something about me being in California and then Atlantic. So I know it's confusing because I started in California and then we flew to Florida, and it was about a few months after that pedophile raped me that he finally got me. This guy had been stalking me from the ages of 6 to 9 when we moved into Pebble Beach. He would watch me in my window. He would groom me. He would touch me in front of other friends. Thankfully, I was able to reach out to my best friend who lived across from me in Pebble Beach And I said, do you remember when we went over? Because the thing is, too, my pedophile had a son our age. So we would play, and then he would focus on me. And the fact that I was like disabled, I had surgeries as a child. I was in traction at 18 months. I had another operation at 3 years old, and I had a half body cast on. So I was super fragile. So he would single me out and be like, pretending to take care of me. And then he'd be just nasty, grooming me or showing me his unit. And I had no idea what it was because I didn't have anything to compare to. I'd never seen one. And it would like creep out the bottom of his shorts. So he would make it seem like it was an animal or a puppet or something. I had no idea what it was, but he would say, oh, my friend really wants to meet you. And I remember just like, I'd be sitting on his lap and he'd show me stuff like that. And this was the 80s in Pebble Beach. So he would wear like short corduroys. Do you remember the really short shorts men would wear? Yeah, this is what he would do, where their like balls would fall out and their dicks would fall out. Yeah, welcome to the 80s.
Oh my God.
In the 70s. So he would dress like that and just fly under the radar. And then he was a Purple Heart recipient. He was in Vietnam. He was a helicopter pilot, like Sasha Riley's father, a Nam helicopter pilot. And he was the one grooming me. And he was the one telling me about these daddy-daughter relationships. Like, again, I was 6 to 9 and I was disassociating hard when he would talk about these things because I wasn't sure what he was talking about. And I honestly didn't really want to know. I didn't understand adults. And my mom always said I was so mature for my age and I should hang out with the adults because they're calmer than the children who want to wrestle me when I'm in a body cast. And so I was always hanging around adults and always looked at them as my peers and of who, I should believe. And then I had the belief that I'm sure many other victims do too. If you're a bad guy, we figure you're in jail. You don't live next door. You don't live 4 houses down. You don't live across the street.
Yeah.
You're not flying under the radar. Because I'm not your first victim.
Right.
So that was another thing going through my head that I'm like, bad people don't live this close to me because they wouldn't be allowed. So this is all this logical thinking as a child trying to process and stay safe in all of this. So my uncles, when my grandfather died, who owned all the radio stations, my uncles changed the will and stole all of our money, all of our inheritance, left us absolutely penniless. We sold our house in Pebble Beach, which was in the back. It was a tiny little house, very modest. My grandfather had a mansion in Los Feliz. My uncles had a ranch. At one point, he had a ranch one of them had a ranch next to Ellen DeGeneres, and the other one has a giant place in Glendale. And my dad had this tiny little house that hardly fit the 3 of us that they had to add an addition on in the back of Pebble Beach. And we had to sell that house and then move to Florida because my dad couldn't find any work. They were like, why would your family do this to you? You must be a horrible person. So he moved to Florida, and this was like 87. We decided to move to Florida. So right when that guy, Brad Witherall, that's his name, by the way, Brad Witherall, Brayton Witherall, I think it's the 3rd, but either way, it's Brayton Witherall, and he was in the military, received Purple Heart. He'd been shot. So my mom finally caught him in the window, and this was the day after he raped me, and right before we moved, because my dad flew out the next morning to go look for a house in Florida for us and to try to secure a job and everything. And he left us all home alone. So the day when Brad got me in his room and raped me, he choked me out so many times. Like, he was a veteran. He knew how to do it without leaving any marks. My little brother knows how to do the same things. My little brother was a sniper assassin for Blackwater. And he did that move on my brother one night. And my brother completely went limp with no marks on him whatsoever, my older brother. And my little brother put him up and propped him up against the jukebox. And like minutes or so later, my older brother finally comes to, and he was like, what happened? I feel like I just took the longest nap. And then he found out what happened. He punched my brother in the nose. Welcome to my family. But that's what I think the guy kept doing to me. That's what Brad kept doing to me, because I kept falling asleep. Like, I kept going out. I would wake up and fight back, and I'd be out again. Wake up, fight back, be out again. Wake up, fight back, be out again. Or I'd be in another room and then fight back and be out again. And then finally, I guess his wife came home with their son, and I was suddenly on the living room sofa. And I mean, this was, I don't know how long I was there. I don't know if it was 10 minutes or an hour. I was exhausted, and I was on the sofa, and I was just like limped over on if you look at like the sofa here, I was like sitting here and I was limped over here. I could like hardly do I could hardly stay up or awake. I was just so pummeled, but no marks. Not down there were, though. He had completely ripped me. And I woke up to his wife in the kitchen talking, and angrily I could smell her cutting onions, and I still cannot eat onions to this day. And Brad came, and she was pissed. She was like, why is she here? Because like I said, I had lived here for 3 years at this point. I'd never been in their house. So suddenly I'm on their sofa home alone with Brad, and the mom and son comes in, and I'm asleep on the sofa. So he was like, oh, she fell asleep waiting for Kevin. And she's like, why is she in the house? And how long has she been waiting? Like, it was just super weird. So they were arguing. And then Brad came over and pinched my hip really hard to try to get me up. He pinched it and like flunked the area, like a really hard knuckle pinch. And it woke me up, and he was like, hey, get up. Kevin's here. He's out in the back if you want to go play with him. Otherwise, it's dinner time. Get home. And I was just really out of it. And I went back and like looked for Kevin, and I was really excited because I'd never been in their house, and I'd only been in their backyard like once. I always wanted to climb this one tree that looked like it was just a ladder. It was so easy to climb. And I went back there, and I was like, I didn't realize what time it was anymore. And I was like, I got to get home. And so I got home, and I was a few minutes late to dinner, and things were crazy because my dad was flying out the next day, and they were arguing because of the shit that was going on with my family, with my uncles. We went from having nice cars and living a nice life and just moving forward, and my dad doing great, managing the station and running it. And he just loved it. He was so happy, and everyone loved him. If you look up on my blog, I wrote a whole birthday thing to him of just all the employees, how much they loved him. And then his brothers came over and took over and basically sold the place, and sold it out anyway. And so my mom so I came into the house, and I was really angry, and I wanted to tell them what was going on. And they were like, it's dinner time, sit down, wash up, sit down, no one talking. And I was raised in a family, you are to be seen and not heard. And then my mom was from the Midwest, which they were very, sweet and get along with everyone. And then my dad's down south as a rich boy, born of a multimillionaire. And so she's trying to be this fancy, disciplined version also, even though my dad wouldn't really implement all of that as much. He would work with my mother, but it was all children are to be seen and not heard. And so I got to the table, and I had been anorexic for years at this point. I couldn't eat. I don't know if anyone remembers the drink Ensures, but I had to drink those every single day in the 80s because I was skin and bones. I was terrified. I would find this man in my window. No one believed me. I would sneak out of my room to go like sleep behind the sofa, and I'd get yelled at for being defiant and all these things. And no one would let me speak. No one would believe me. So I'm sitting at the table, and they're like trying to get us to eat. And I'm gagging, and I would gag all the time at the table to the point where I would eat in my room. My parents would flip out and just scream at me, and I would vomit, and I would gag, and textures were really weird to me. This is all autism spectrum disorder too. I'm highly sensitive. And, none of that was ever seen as a diagnosis for a girl. It was, my older brother was diagnosed like ADHD, and we thought my dad was ADHD, but it was always, oh, Molly's great. We don't need to worry about her. And then just mislabeled. I was mislabeled as defiant. So I actually had to sleep at the dinner table that night. They wouldn't let me leave the table. They were punishing me for not being able to eat. They said I had to eat all my cold dinner, which, yes, of course I'm going to eat that. I'm going to shovel it fucking down. I'm going to eat it for breakfast cold and with flies on it, So I went to school the next day, Catholic school. That was that fucking Transylvania concentration camp for indigenous people, Catholic school that I went to. And I went there the next day to school. And when I got home that night, my dad was in Florida now. And my mom was like, all right, Molly, I want you to sleep with me tonight. And because at this point I was trying to tell her, because I went to school the next morning and I noticed that my underwear were sticking to my crotch because I was torn. So it was making a scab, connecting it to my underwear. And then when I'd go to the bathroom, I'd rip that scab off. And then when I'd go to wipe, I would always see this line of blood, this one line of blood. And I was like, what is that? What is that? What is that? Because I didn't even know what I had between my legs at the time. I didn't know what sex was. I didn't know what any of this was. So I tried to tell my mom, and she basically shut me down. She thought I was just being a brat to my little brother about something. And she was like, I don't want to hear it if it has to do with XYZ. And the XYZ connected right to Brad. And she just shut me down. So she was like, all right, dad's out of town. You're a handful. I don't know what's going on with you. You're defiant. So I want you to sleep with me tonight in my room. I can keep an eye on you. I can see you're dysregulated, which that was never the word at the time. It was overreacting or sensitive or being a brat or whatever the fucking term was that I was told I was. And so I went to sleep with my mom that night, and that guy, Brad, like, he was used to looking in my window. So in Pebble Beach, we had a deck that my dad had built that had a hot tub in it, and it had a whole patio, and it went right under my window. So you could just stand there and just look in my window. I had peekaboo curtains because we were in the backyard, and then we were in the Del Monte forest. So my mom wanted natural light to come in and wake me up. Otherwise, I was a night owl. I was terrified of this guy, and I couldn't sleep at night, and then I'd want to sleep in during the day. So I had these peekaboo curtains, so he would just look in them. He just look in them. And I remember at some point going out on the back patio all these years and looking under my window and seeing all of this white trail stuff. And I thought it was from slugs, but it was nowhere else on our house. I'm pretty sure he was ejaculating on my wall under my window. So I remember thinking, oh my God, all the slugs just like congregate here. Like, that was another thing too. And then I caught him in my window, and no one believed me. So I'm sleeping in my mom's room that night, and it's about my bedtime when I'm usually in bed. And I guess Brad's probably looking for me in my window, and I'm next door to that window is my parents' bedroom. They had French doors that went out to that patio. Their bathroom was here, and then my bedroom was here. And so I was in my mom's bathroom going to the bathroom, and I'm sitting on the toilet. And again, I'm 9 years old. I'm just going to pee before bed. There's a window right in front of me, and that Brad's face is against the screen with his nose pressed against it, watching me pee. And my mom walks in, and I point to it like freaking out. And my mom goes, get out of here, get out of here. And she chases him off. She goes and grabs a BB gun that they slept next to on the bed to go out there and try to scare him. And she went out there, and she saw him hobble away. He was drinking a beer, and he had a stogie, which was all Brad. Brad limped because he was shot in the leg. That's how he got the Purple Heart thing. He used to smoke cigars, and that was the drink he used to drink. So my mom caught him, and she thought she wouldn't talk to me. She would never ask my stuff. She still does not to this day. She does not let me speak. She thought he was peeking on her. So nothing ever came of it. She called the police. She called the security at the front gate, and she called his wife and said, I saw you in the window. She called the front gate and the police saying he was in the window, blah, blah. And they didn't do anything. Like the gate people came, the security from the neighborhood came. And my mom, I think she was just kind of flattered. Like she thought it was for her. She tends to be a little narcissistic. And I think part of that stems from she was engaged to another man when she met my father and married my dad. So she has motives that I don't have. I don't marry people for money. I do the opposite. I'm like, I will fucking make my own. I do not need to be your slave. So, and I try not to blame her for these things. It's my assessments so that I know my own proximity. Because it has sucked not having her part of this. Part of the reason I worked so hard to be an honor student and be on the debate team and do the morning news and do pageants and sing and babysit and run a recording studio, the front office of a recording studio in high school. I did all these things so that my family would stand with me when one day I was going to be able to be heard, that I would be the one survivor. Because I don't blame I don't say my family trafficked me. I say they are also victims of this whole psyop. And this whole psyop is grooming tolerance for exploitation, and girls and women are cattle. And everyone's just like trying to usher in this whole movement, women included. Like MAGA was trying to get rid of women's rights to vote, and now it's absolutely on the docket of 2025, and everyone's like, you're overreacting, and the women are voting, and it's just like, you're voting for your rights away. So we have to kind of get out of line and do it a different way. And that's what I'm always rallying the troops. We've got to find our team, our people, speak up, find the podcasters who are letting us speak, like you and Jay Megan. Jay Megan has been really putting a bunch of really cool pieces together as well. She's talking about Sasha Riley. People are validating him. His testimony was so validating. When he came out, I thought he was so incredible. I sent him to a bunch of my hidden survivor friends, and they were like, this is the stuff we're aware of: the toddlers, the breeding, the adrenochrome, the harvesting, the sacrifices, the child marriages, the child sacrifice, the child rituals, the organ harvesting, all this, Zorro Ranch, breeding ranches. I mean, Virginia Giuffre was offered, I think she said $60,000 for a baby. And everyone's like, this is crazy. I can't get on board with this. And it's like, you don't need to get on board with it. You're not doing it. They are. They fucking are. And they have since the dawn of time. And we need to do something about it. We can't just let them live among us. Wolves cannot live in a sheep pack. So you're excellent at listening, by the way. If everyone listens to my podcast when I have other people on, I'd be so ADHD. I'd be interrupt. I have to tell a story. I got to say something too. So you're much better.
You're so compelling to listen to. I could listen to you all day. And
thank you.
Anybody who's been following you, like I said, whenever we first logged on, you have just been through the ringer over and over and over again, and somehow never lost faith in God, in humanity, in humor, and in
I absolutely lost faith in
you have, but you somehow always came back to it, where so many people never do. And I think that's amazing.
I got rid of organized religion's version.
Yes.
Is what I did. I still had my faith, and what kept it was, even when I was rebuking it in like second and third grade, I'm going through this abuse, and I'm going to Catholic school, and I'm seeing the Palestinian protester on the cross everywhere, and no adults seem to be doing anything about anything. And also, where's God and Jesus when all this is happening to me for years? Where the fuck? So it really put a split in my faith. But I needed it to, because I needed to dissect organized religion. And who is this white God that only cares about what men are allowed to do and doesn't ever fix anything? And who's this white Jesus, when I thought he was Palestinian, Middle Eastern-ish, with this very narrow nose and almost blondish hair and blue eyes? Like, what is this Yahtzee Jesus? So it got me to see through that. What kept my faith was the original recording of Jesus Christ Superstar, Andrew Lloyd Webber with Ian Gillan. Phenomenal. They are pushing the boundaries. They're asking questions. I'm suddenly hearing angry Jesus, and I'm like, fucking rage on, dude. You've seen my GIF, flipping tables. It's my favorite GIF to use is flipping tables in the temple.
Molly GIF.
So yeah, and I've started using it again. I'm like, it's time.
I love it.
Release the GIFs. Rally the troops, flip the tables. But Jesus Christ Superstar record is what saved me. I could understand, I could see the humanness in it instead of the scary art that was all over my school. And when I tell you it's Dracula-like, I'm talking, it was built in the 1400s, and kids were going to it in 1985. It was old, it was dark, it was scary. The main mission is nasty. The Jesus in the main mission looks like a taxidermy Jesus. Like, it is just horrible. And I've said this before, and I've said it on my podcast. Catholicism encapsulated the one moment Jesus had a doubt. The one moment where his eyes are rolled back. Why have thou forsaken me? Catholicism is not Christianity. It is not Jesus. Because if it was following Jesus, it would be teaching Jesus, and it would be showing Jesus resurrected, and not the one moment the Romans got him. Like, why are they highlighting that one moment of the cross? He resurrected. He lives through the veil. Why are you focusing on the protester on the cross before all the miracle? And we know why. It's a Freemason Jesuit organization. It's white power. It's white supremacy. They think they're the chosen people. And that is a warning. Don't step out of line. We'll do this to Jesus. Just think what we'll do to you. That's how I took it. Mm-hmm. It's very sterile, very dark, very removed of any love in that facility. And I came from Montessori school, which was tactile, hands-on, very colorful. And then I went to black and white Catholic school, and I'm autistic, or ADHD. It's what autistic ADHD AU, where I have a lot of the autistic symptoms, and then I'm also ADHD. So that did not work well for me in a black and white verbal only communication. Like, I'm just like, what? You can speak in Korean. I got as much from this. Like, I need to read it. I need to see it. I need to do it. Mm-hmm. So very, very different education systems. And then the gifted program, which we've talked about this, they're always looking for us. Patterns.
100%. Yeah. And
recognize patterns because they don't want us recognizing that they always lose.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, there's just over and over and over again in your life, you can see how you've been scouted. And I would love if you could give just a recap. I know we've talked about it in depth, and people can go listen to your past episodes to hear every single, detail of these events. But could you recap the recruitment by Ghislane, and then let's start talking about how that led to this party, and then let's reveal
by Lisa the recruitment.
Yeah, Lisa, and then from the gym also the initial contact. Yeah.
So yeah, I was a freshman in high school at Jupiter High School at the time, and I had just graduated St. Clair's Catholic School in Palm Beach Gardens, and ended up going to just regular high school because it was super close. The Catholic high schools were like way far away and super expensive and very uppity. And I was not a fan. I just did not like those schools. The boys were not nice. They're like white supremacy, And so I didn't go to that high school. I went to a public high school, and it was my freshman year there. And I went to Jupiter High School, the old campus, and the old campus did not have a gym. It did not have a gym for like a workout gym. And it was only for the basketball players, like the boy players. Like the wrestling team could work out in there. Like there was a tiny little gym for the wrestling team, football like players and stuff like that. But all the kids worked out at this Jupiter gym next to the Cineplex. I think it's on A1A in Jupiter. It's next to Bell's, which I think Bell's is still there on the end of the plaza. And then if you keep going down the plaza, there's the gym and the movie theater. And the gym is still there. It's under a new name. Last I saw it was Elite Palm Beach. And I'm like, you guys are really bad at flying under the radar. We know elite means usually Epstein network affiliate. So I'm working out there. So I got hired there. What happened was when you were 14 years old in Florida at the time, you could work, I think like 8 hours max, maybe 4 hours max on the weekends because of the labor laws and how young you are at the time. And so I worked on the weekends. I would go in first thing in the morning and babysit at the gym is what I got a job doing, hanging out with the kids while their parents were working out. And I had to be there, I think, pretty friggin' early in the morning. It sucked. And then I was out by like noon. And one day I was there and I was working out afterwards. And because I was starting to do pageants at this time too. My mom was starting to be my mom manager. She started bleaching my hair lighter and lighter. And because I was a total towhead as a child, but as you can see, it got darker. And so she just kept bleaching my hair. She did it herself and it looked awful. And then I did my first pageant and she had me in this like dress that I guess a Trump pageant would have used, but the one I was in, everyone was like sweet little ball gowns with full coverings and very modest. And I came out like fucking Marilyn Monroe. And they were like, this is very inappropriate. You're like in 8th grade. So I was like, yeah, agreed. My dad was horrified. And this is stuff my parents used to fight about all the time because my mom was always hypersexualizing me and pushing me to be much older and living vicariously through me, because she even said that. She's like, I was so shy. I was so scared of everything. I live vicariously through you. And I'm like, I was honored. I was like, yay, let's go do everything through me. And she was my best friend. That's, another reason I'm just horrified that she's not here with me right now. I mean, she's alive. She just doesn't give a fuck. Not enough to help her talk to me. She's very, very weak. My brother's also. So I worked at the gym, and I was done working in the daycare that day, and I went over to work out, and I don't know what machine I was on. This is something that has hung up Maria Farmer. This is her gotcha. So I think it was like 92, 93 that we were at the gym there, and they had, if you walk in the front door, the daycare was over here. And then if you go over this way, there's all of these huge windows with the sidewalk there for everyone to walk, the whole shopping mall area. And then there was a cardio area up there, and there was a cardio area way back there. So they had some newer machines up here. I thought I was on an elliptical because I was always told to do low impact because of my disability. So I might have been on a cross country thing. Whatever it was low impact. Maria Farmer. Is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay that I don't remember the fucking equipment I was on for a mere moment of I think I went to that gym for 5 or 6 years too. So the equipment changed often. I'm sorry I don't remember that. And I'm sorry that's the hair that broke the camel's back. But I was on some sort of low impact machine. I might have even been walking on a treadmill. I believe I was also reading a book, and I saw out of the corner of my eye, I had taken my shirt off, and I had a sports bra on, and I had like spandex shorts on, and I was pretty thin. And I remember my mom was even saying, you should take those things off so you can kind of see. She would read up on other models. I'm trying to remember who Nikki something was, a local model who was cover girl. She was always Nikki Taylor. Do you remember that girl? Yeah. My mom was always trying to get me to like follow in her footsteps because she was like a local all-American looking girl, because that was what they were always trying to push me through. She was a very all-American looking girl and cover girl and all this stuff, and wasn't in Playboy and stuff. So my mom was pushing me towards her. And so she was like, I read something where she always takes her shirts off so she can see the parts of the body she's working out. And I was like, all right, because I was very modest. I would wear a sports bra in my bedroom and not leave the bedroom. Like I'd be like, okay, we're done. And then put clothes over it and then walk out of the house or wear a giant sweater or something. So I took the shirt off, and I'm, standing in the window doing whatever the cardio I was doing. And I see these two people walk by out of the corner of my eye. And as a trauma survivor, I'm always looking out of my peripheral, always disassociated out of my peripheral. I'm usually not even reading my book because I can't even follow it because my peripheral gets triggered. So I saw these two women. Ghislane had the short hair at the time, and I believe she was with Ava Dubbin at the time. I have looked at pictures of Ava Dubbin, and also my recruiter later on was talking about Ava Dubbin. And then we have found all this information since that they were very good friends. It was one of Epstein's like first girlfriends. And she married a hedge fund guy who is deeply connected to trafficking and been accused of like trafficking a 15-year-old. Dubbin, Glenn Dubbin, is that his name? I think so. Ava Dubbin. So I believe it was them too. And so they're walking up. Ghislane's on the inside here, and Ghislane spots me. The two of them are talking, clearly talking. I can see them talking. And then Ghislane looks over into the window and goes like this, because it's kind of a tinted window. And she looks in the window to look at me. And then at that moment, who I believe was Eva Dubbin, stops and basically is like, she sees what she's doing and backs off. So then the two of them split apart, and Ghislane comes into the gym, and Eva Dubbin just went off a different way. But it was so weird because I clearly saw the two of them talking and walking together. And that's been in the records too, that they have described that Ghislane will spot someone and just break off and have to go do her recruiting. So she comes into the gym, and I was used to being recruited. I mean, since I was a child, I was a towhead. I had very, very, very blonde hair. I had the brown eyes. It was called a honey blonde. I was recruited for modeling all the time. And then finally for acting and singing more, because I enjoyed doing that way, way more. But I kind of knew what was going on. I could see that she like looked in the window at me, and then she came in, and then she went up to the front desk, and she was talking to them there. And then she pointed at me and was like, I'm just going to talk to her real quick. Like, I don't need a membership, and I don't need you walking me around. So they let her in. She comes walking towards me, and she starts engaging with me. She introduces herself, and she says her name, and I could only remember her last name, but I remember the first name was Wild. And she handed me her business card at the same time. And it was just block font. It said her name, Ghislane, or however the fuck you say it, Maxwell. And like I said, she introduced herself at the same time. And however I heard her name, it was like, oh my God, I hope she doesn't ask me to repeat it. Like, that's not going to happen. Or if I have to say thank you and I'm going to try to say that name. So these were the things running through my head was, how am I going to be polite to this boomer? Because that's the thing too. We're all told to be polite. We all have to be polite over our own safety. We have to be polite above all things. That's MK Ultra programming also. So she says, how old are you? Ooh. That was weird. Are you there?
Yes. They're just looking out for a second.
So she asked me how old I was and if I had ever done any modeling. And I said, yeah, I have. And I said, yeah, I have. And she's like, well, you've got the look. I'm not surprised. And then she asked how old I was. And I told her whatever I was, 14, 15 years old. And she went, oh, it was right after I got my braces removed. And I had them until I was 13, 14. And because I got them off right before school started for high school. And she goes, how old are you? And I said, 14, 15, whatever I was. I think I was 14. And she said, oh my God, you so easily passed for 18. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, that was so weird to me. What would I have to pass for 18? I'd been modeling since second grade. What would I have to pass for 18? So all of these were just very weird. And then she said, I have connections with Victoria's Secret, international travel, massages. And all of that in my head was, oh my gosh. So I'd be a Victoria's Secret model, which I didn't want to do because I'd already been a rape survivor. And I knew it was just a step away from porn or a step away from Playboy or something. And I really wasn't interested, but I was so happy that they were taking such good care of the models that I envisioned them on this beautiful plane and they're getting massages before they go do runway. Like, how lovely for them. So I kind of just like took that information in and was like, I know I'm handicapped. Modeling is not my forte. My dad really does not like me modeling. He supports my singing. He supports my acting a little bit, but mostly my singing. And really does not want me doing modeling. That's why I did the pageant stuff, because I could always sing to get like scholarships, grants, or win accolades. And where was I going with this? I completely just had a brain fart.
We were talking about Ghislane coming to the gym.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. So she's telling me about the international travel, the massages, and all this stuff. And she basically says, give me a call if you're interested, or have your parents call me. And I was like, I don't want my mom calling because she'll fucking set it up. So I just kept her card. I had her card in a scrapbook of mine for a long time. And in college, an ex-boyfriend broke into my house and stole a bunch of things because we had broken up. And reactive abuse broke back into his house. And of course, I'm the only one who got in trouble for that. But he threw away one of my modeling portfolios to punish me. And he told me later on, he threw stuff away because I was trying to find my things. I was like, I know you have these things. I know you broke in my door. I had the police out and they finger dusted everything. The place is a mess. My dog's running around the neighborhood. Like, thanks, dude. And then he finally told me years later that he threw some stuff in a garbage can. And then I broke into his house. He called the cops. The fucking cops put me in jail. I had to call my dad. I transferred schools at that point. I was like, you can't fight boys. Boys will always win. And it was Tallahassee at Florida State. So it was just good old boy area. And I ended up transferring to UCF. And then that's when I met the Dargan guy, which we'll get into later. But so that was my earlier thing with Ghislane when I was 14. And that was the first thing I remembered because Ghislane, I have little mourning doves out on my balcony. I feed all the birds and they're all out there saying hi. As I say,
you were just finishing up the gym scenario and saying that was how you encountered Ghislane the first time. And that was
okay. Yeah. So that's how I found her the first time. And I didn't recognize her. So in 2019 and stuff, when they were showing her, this is why I called during the pandemic, like right when the pandemic started and we were all at home, I was happy I couldn't have been happier. My whole family, we were like, that was the best time. We were all forced to be home. We were all hanging out. Jeffy wasn't working all the time. We had a blast, other than the world nothing was going well for a lot of other people. And we kept that in mind. But that was a time where it was phenomenal for us. So during that time when it first started, I was like, well, I got nothing to do. We've got this 2-week curve we're trying to flatten. I guess I'll call the FBI, because they were saying, if you have any information, Maria Farmer, if you have any information, it says as a whistleblower or a victim, to come forward and give your testimony. So I called the FBI and I reported. I said, I want to report this weird encounter. I was 14 and I wanted to add credibility to other claims, like Maria Farmer's claims, like Virginia's claims, like all of their little clicks stuff. I was willing to be evidence for them and then was attacked by them to the point where I'm like, oh, I've realized I'm more of an innocent victim than any of you are. And I can see why you're attacking me, which is wild, because why does Virginia have an anti-trafficking organization? Why is she the mouthpiece when she doesn't even speak to you, but then attempts to discredit you publicly? And if you want to pull up the blog in a minute, where I have that all curated, you can click links where these things are still up, where she's trashed me before her suicide or witness protection program that she went into, because she also flip-flopped on Trump. You can go back to her account, because it's not deleted, and look up Trump treason or treason Trump. And she was calling for all of that. She was calling for an investigation against him. And then right before she died, in the whole bus fiasco and the weird bruising that kept changing, and her eyebrow was ripped off. And then it was fine in the media when they caught her and she had no bruises on her face. Where was I going with this? Sorry, it's so overwhelming. And then this whole document dump that just happened of 3 million files yesterday too. And then the last dump, the dump before that on right before Christmas, I was in both of those dumps. But yeah, why is Virginia the mouthpiece? I reached out to her with my intel right there. You can say, hi, Virginia, it's Molly Skye. Thanks for retweeting my thread. She shared when I came out about Ray Huizinga, the billionaire with the yacht from the NFL guy, the guy whose dad owned the Florida Dolphins, tried to traffic me out of the country. She reshared that and, was like, basically telling to support me. And then when I started putting more pieces together, they turned against me. So yeah, this Andrew Zalegi guy, he's come back and apologized to me for all of this. He now knows they're all liars. He was very close with Maria through all of this. But look at this. Hi, Joe. Sorry to trouble you. This is Joanna. You know Joe. You've interviewed her too. Britain. She's been on your podcast, and she's connected to all of this too. And she was a firm believer and supporter of them. But it says, just notice you were writing stuff to and about Molly Skye Brown. Just so you know, Maria and Virginia blocked her because she is appropriating their story. The real victims. How are there real victims and not real victims? Like, what is this lingo? Right. And they are angry with her, as are some of the other survivors. Maria is furious about her. Maria is keeping off Twitter for now, as she is very stressed. Brad Edwards is also upset with Molly for twisting the story. You saw my email was just up there. He never responded. How are you vetting me? And how immoral is this that you're bad-mouthing me to your clients when I reached out to you for help? Like, what is this cover up? And Brad Edwards is also said Molly for twisting the story, saying that it takes away from the truth. Well, the contained truth narrative that they're trying to pump out, it sure as fuck does. The fact that she states in her profile that she was almost trafficked 5 times speaks volumes. Maria calls her a fake who is only after fame and possibly money. First of all, don't want fame. That's fucking disgusting. And if I do want money, I want to be made whole for the education I had to sustain, for the drop out of, for the law school I didn't get to finish, for the abductions and rapes, for these girl interrupted scenarios that I keep having to deal with when I have human inalienable rights and no one's protecting them but me and you. Maria calls her fake. I'm just looking for money. I haven't blocked Molly yet, as I'm keeping a quiet eye on her. Sorry to pass all of this on to you, but I wanted to let you know about the bad feeling there is about this lady. It's so dramatic. And that was 2020. So that was February 10th, 2020. Oh no, I think he's overseas. I think that was October 2nd, 2020. Because that was when I came out in the media with my first story.
Okay.
And then she obviously blocked him. And like I said, Andrew has since come forward and said and apologized. And he knows Maria's a farmer and Maria's a farmer. Maria's a liar. And antagonize her that she's, doing all of this and she can't be trusted and she flip-flops and changes her story. 1 minute she's not raped, the next minute she's raped by Ghislane Maxwell. How did she rape you exactly? Like, I have screenshots where she was getting Stephen Hoffenberg to say, I think it's in here. If you scroll down, you'll see him. So yeah, there's Virginia discrediting me. There's Rena O giving us information about the compromat that Virginia clearly states in her book that she was used for. It's the first and only time she's ever mentioned. I think it's page 274 of Virginia Gouffre's book. 274, I think it says that she was used for blackmail of people in high places. She's never spoken about that. What blackmail were you used in? So she's saying it's a composite. And if you keep going down, Lady Victoria Hervey started uncovering it. She found the person behind it, but she wants to free Ghislane, so she changed the story. But I have the recording of Lady Hervey telling me the narrative that she found out and vetted. She said she had the police out there vet him and the FBI that this artist was telling the truth and that he made that compromat and that he was drugged, injected, abducted, kept for days. And everyone has their own reason for, it's usually money. I mean, Hervey she's part of it, bored into it. She was the it girl, which is not a fucking thing. That was an invented term back in the day. But yeah, there's part of the voicemail there. I think if you click it, it'll play it all. Yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. So I've had this guy in London reach out to me who's an artist out of the blue. He kind of reached out to me a few days ago, but I basically wrote him, you're full of shit. I don't believe you. But now he's telling me some really wild stuff that Ghislane and Jeffrey drugged him apparently that weekend in March 2001, and how he woke up. Anyway, all this stuff is crazy. And then he sends me a video of he's talking in the video and he's showing me this photo album, and it's one of the royal photo albums that Ghislane and Jeffrey had somehow got their hands on and given it to him as some kind of bribe for keeping quiet. Ghislane had commissioned him to do a couple pictures of her, and she'd had sex with him as well. That's crazy. He knows about the photo being fake. He said that they actually gave him a fake photo of that photo and stuck Jeffrey's head on as a joke. I mean, it sounds so fucking insane. And he said that original picture where they took Prince Andrew's head, it was just a Google image picture of him and Sarah Ferguson, but then Jeffrey got Bill Gates to erase it off Google so you couldn't find it anymore. Basically, yeah, Ghislane was totally in on the photo then with Virginia. Fuck, man, this is insane. They have the same fucking controllers, but then they're fighting each other at the same time, which is fucking crazy. Hey, I mean, yeah, when this guy first reached out to me and he sends me this random photo, which is the fake photo, but with Jeffrey's head on, and I was like, what the fuck is that? Please, no more jokes and stuff. And then I was like, look, I don't believe you. And then he just was like, right, well, I have I want to tell my story. I've thought someone was going to kill me. And then he goes on to how they fabricated the photo, but they made one with Jeffrey's head on that image as a joke and gave it to him. And Ghislane basically commissioned him to do these 3 portraits of her, kind of giving birth to Terramar, but one of the paintings was her on the cross. She wanted some kind of Jewish something or other. I have to look in my notes, but like basically her on the cross, which was referencing something to her dad. And this guy said, when he was heavily drugged, and when he sort of came out of being drugged, he tried to go to the police station, and the police station wouldn't listen to him. They thought he was just like some homeless guy that was on drugs. Video that he sent me is really, it is the royal photo album. There's also some other things as like some other like personal items with the Queen Elizabeth's crest on it that they apparently gave him as to kind of keep him quiet. And then he's also got some photos of like some other presidents and stuff they gave him.
Some of these photos are on the blog post. We'll go back to it in a minute. Listen.
He was in an art gallery, so he doesn't know she followed him from there, and then introduced herself as a different name, basically, and then told him that she wanted like the Taramar thing. She wanted to be giving birth to Taramar, and she apparently just sort of disappeared. And then I don't think he heard from her again after that. Basically didn't know who they were until he saw the case for the Epstein and Ghislane like on the news. He didn't know it was her because she given him a fake name.
So what does this guy want? Does he want to help? Is he blackmailing and extorting? Is he being cooperative? What does he want out of all of this? Is he willing to help us? Does he want to expose himself, go public? What's he telling you? Is he giving you his identity? I just curious if he's going to try to demand money or some shit, or if he just wants to help expose the problem.
I didn't realize she was a Christmas baby. I don't know why I thought she was born in March, but that makes sense. She wanted to be on the fucking cross. I'll send you a screenshot from the video that he shared with me about her on the cross.
Confirmation.
Can't let anyone know though, like you just tell Canada, but no one else. Don't mention it on any of your social medias or anything like that. Because, I need this guy to keep telling me stuff. And it sort of sounds fucking real, doesn't it? Basically, Jeffrey and Ghislane were behind that picture with Virginia. That is why I have to be very careful what I say to Alan, because he's obviously Ghislane's friend and was Jeffrey's lawyer. So that's why I haven't said anything about Tansy yet. I have to approach it in a very, very subtle way at some point.
Tansy.
I really feel sick about all of this right now to my stomach. I really do.
And then if you go back to my blog, I have pictures of the pictures she posted of the royal family album that this artist has. And all of this stuff was verified. And some other things too. Oh yeah, this is some of my fan art by Maria Farmer. But yeah, this is it right here. So this is Joanna. She said this voice recording of Lady Victoria Hervey, which we just heard. Ghislane Maxwell is behind royal shit pick, criminal facade, compromat, blackmail, and Hervey pretends to be on the side of silent survivors. Yet her mission is so clear: free Ghislane, exonerate Prince Andrew, and then bribed with Diana's gold. So this was, I guess, connected to Diana also.
Oh, wow.
Which many believe she is a ritual trafficked victim as well.
Yes. And the photo that you're referring to, I can find it online. I don't know if you have it on this page, but it is this picture of Virginia with Ghislane and Epstein. Or wait, is it Ghislane and Epstein or Prince Andrew on either side?
Prince Andrew.
Yes.
And the shadow is all weird. Like the shading is all weird. The things that are the biggest tells for me, zoom into her hair really quick, just on this picture alone. Zoom just really into that left side of her hair.
Like
and right here in her hair, there's a weird teardrop that can't happen. So you can see that that's like a cloning tool or a swirl tool. So that's one of the pieces right there. This hair is actually smoothed more because there's another artifact just below her ear area. Also, her hair's parted on the left side. The left side has more hair on it than the right side, which is wild because it's parted. You can see I have less hair on this side when it's parted and more on this side because there's actually more hair on this side. So she's got all this extra hair, and they were saying it was a picture of her and of him and Fergie, and they kind of blended their hair together. So you can kind of see different colored hairs in here. But try to find the original. I guess I didn't have it on there. I didn't put it on the blog. Okay, yeah, here's perfect example. So in that last picture, if you see, Prince Andrew's arm is actually her jacket. So that's the significance of the jacket in the Rena O art painting. I don't know if you can tell, but the belly, his belly, and then the arm behind him, that other blue, those are two different colored blues, and they really don't match. And what they were saying also was Virginia had her arm out like that because they wanted to be able to put Andrew's hand way down there, but it wouldn't line up with the blue jacket piece in the middle. That's his fake arm. So they put it there, even though her hand is coming out like it should be there. So his hand should be there.
Because her hand doesn't look like it's touching her.
It is not touching her. And that's been one of the things people are like, what is that? And other hidden survivors who know about this have said she did that purposefully because they were going to try to put his hand there. They already had the picture that they knew they were going to use, apparently. So then now zoom into the left side of her hair. You can see it much better in this one, that she has a massive amount of hair on the left-hand side. It does not match. The colors are way off. The outside hair looks different than the inside hair. The inside hair is way more red, and the hair on her right side is way more reddish. The hair on the left side that goes into Prince Andrew has a whole bunch of artifacts. I don't know if you can see the weird artifacts all of there in her hair, but there's a black thing that's hanging out of her hair. That makes no sense. No. Go over to her hair for just a second. I want to see if you can find it. That swirl that I showed you, if you can see it. Do you see it? Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. You can see it very clear there. You can see it's a very weird anomaly that hair does not fall that way. It makes no sense. The teardrop at the top is literally mirrored. So if you go to the tip of that tear and then all the way over to the left, do you see that black artifact? Go to the tip of the tear and over to the left just a little bit. Where's the black? Yeah, up. That.
Like right in
what
here.
The fuck is that? That's a white wall behind her. What is that? It's not her hair. If you find better shots where you can really zoom in and it doesn't get pixelated, it's just a black anomaly hanging behind her hair. And then you can see the shadings are way off too. Like she's got light, it looks like coming over her head, and he looks like it's coming from his left. Just the shadowing and everything's weird. So what they said is basically, and this is why his hands don't match his face. If you scroll down, Andrew's hands are super red and his face is not.
And Ghislane has that same red tint too, which is bizarre.
But it's on both her face and her hands.
Right.
Whereas
his
Prince
is
Andrew's not. His face isn't red in the slightest.
And you think if it was some type of a lighting issue that her hand would have taken on the same lighting as theirs.
Yeah. It's just a very wonky picture. And when they started attacking me is the only reason I started looking into this, because it made no sense. They have offering myself as a witness to help your case.
And so was this photo, if this was indeed altered, was this to be used for blackmail against Andrew for money, or what was the
money? So according to one of my survivor friends out of Canada, she's a child survivor targeted by multiple rings that they don't want to connect to, like, different rings of different pedophiles that have been caught that they don't want connecting to Epstein. Like Peter Nygaard, for example, like he's connected to Epstein, but they haven't put it together that they're all on the same, that they're all buddies. Oh, okay, yes. The Canada survivor said that in and out of being drugged as a child, because she would be drugged, used in films, they would photograph her, abuse her, and she would hear them talking while she was in and out of consciousness. They would brag to her a lot, as we see Trump do. He brags about everything. These fuckers cannot stop bragging about their tiny dick energy. And so he was bragging to her that their plan was to defraud the United States government, which they're doing now, and they have been doing, moving money around internally, and that they were also planning to defraud the monarchy, and that Prince Andrew is basically low-hanging fruit, because we know the whole royal family's involved. So he's just the sacrificial lamb because his stuff is tame compared to theirs. And that's why the royal family reached out to me. And that's why I was like, I can't help you unless we're on the same page. And the same page is, yeah, here's me. I'm a troll. Look at me. I'm such a troll. And this is the hit piece that they tried to do. One of the hit pieces they tried to do on me, which if you read the article, it says I went to the FBI and I went to the media to try to hold both these motherfuckers accountable. And then the PR agent from Pagefield that they were hiring and paying $500 million a year or something like $500,000 a year, stepped down because of me.
Wow, that's amazing, Molly.
Yep. But that wasn't even why I was coming forward.
Right.
I knew other survivors of Prince Andrew. I was actually trying to help Virginia in the same way of let's get Andrew. Have your fucking day in court. You want to say this isn't blackmail? You want to say it is? Let's duke it out. Virginia kept saying she wanted to go to court. She wanted to have her day in court, wanted to have her day in court, wanted to have her day in court. And then took a bribe that Rena O was about to take from her. That's why I also think she's in the witness protection program. Her money's like all missing, according to reports. Rena O was winning a $10 million lawsuit against her for defamation and for putting her through the same thing she was putting me through.
Wow.
Except they know each other, and Virginia referred to her in a podcast and in a book, the manuscript. So she's been able to, she's been winning. If you find there's an article that Virginia, right before she died, her best friend was saying she was distraught. She was losing her money in a lawsuit. So that's what it was about. And that's why I think she went into witness protection program. She was anti-Trump. If you look at her whistleblower account, Victims Refuse Silent Virginia, VRS Virginia, at VRS Virginia on Twitter, it's all still up. You can see years ago, and this time in 2020 and all through the pandemic, she was attacking Trump. She was linking Trump to Epstein. She was calling out Trump. She was aggressive towards Trump. Trump treason, you're one of them. Her and Maria Farmer were attack Donald Trump. And then suddenly, right towards the end, she was saying, I'm your number one fan. She's in a helicopter or some sort of private jet, which, yeah, that's how we all fly. All the victims, that's what we do. We all have personal helicopter pilots and a whole crew of a plane. And she has earphones on, and she goes, Donald Trump, I'm your number one fan, and I know who's on the list. Let's work together. And she tagged Kennedy in it too. So complete 180 on Trump.
Why do you think that was?
I think she needed his protection. I'm sure he got her in witness protection program. And that's how she gets to keep her money. This is all my theory, but watching this network, it's pretty plausible in my brain.
Well, and, we talked before we logged on here too, we see specific things in the news, on mainstream media, even in mainstream alt media. Mainstream media has moved into the big podcasting realms, independent journalists. There's not a independent media that's popular. The real journalism, the real podcasters doing the hard work, the real whistleblowers, they're being suppressed. What's being presented to us, if it's allowed to go mainstream, and if it's allowed to go mainstream.
I've seen so many threads of people saying, where are these victims? Where are these victims? And it's like, how have people not found you? You've been doing this for years at this point. You have the biggest library of all of our accounts. And everyone's like, where can I find anything?
I know. And then where were all the why are Epstein survivors just now starting to come out and talk? They have been for years and years and years and years. You just have not been paying attention to them.
Right.
You haven't been given the stage.
Theorists.
Yes. And so again, we see one thing on TV, we see specific whistleblowers being given a platform. We see certain settlements happening with different survivors. We see recognition. We see people having, being able to support and hear.
Accountability. Right.
But then there's this whole other side where there are dozens and dozens, hundreds, if not thousands of other Epstein survivors who are not being given that same treatment, who are being targeted, who are being, silenced, who are being threatened, who are being bullied, trolled, no money whatsoever being given to them, no spotlight. I'll give one example, and I want to testify too, just on your behalf with what I experienced with connecting with you. You know,
that has been released in the files too. People can go look for themselves now.
100%. When you and I first connected and we started podcasting together, I started getting outreach from other Epstein survivors, not a ton of them, but for example, a woman named Kaylee Shaber-Gandy came on my podcast and anonymously testified her experiences with Epstein. At the same time, it was right around whenever you and I started podcasting, all of a sudden I had Maria Farmer jumping on my podcast. I had never spoken to this woman. I supported her online. I would share her stuff, encourage her. All of a sudden, she's jumping all over my social media saying, I am the whistleblower. This is not an Epstein survivor. This person never knew Epstein. To you, to Kaylee Shaber-Gandy. And I'm thinking, how does this woman, for one, why would you treat other survivors like this? And for two, how would you know if...
Unless you're a super intricate part of the operation. Like, how do you know everybody?
I'm like, how do you know who all he encountered? This is a circle. This is a global network. This is a global...
If you know everyone he encountered, you are in deeper than you have ever revealed. Yes.
And that's what really
you are a
scared
true
me
insider.
And I got so gaslit by her. She hopped on so many of my podcasts, gaslighting my guests, saying that they were grifters, that they're lying, that she is the whistleblower, nobody else is. And I have those screenshots. I have those proof. I can even show them. But
like I said, all of this, I think, stems from the first article that came out on me. They said basically they might have inferred. It is not written this way, but I'm guessing Maria Farmer inferred it as this way and hasn't taken any time out of the past 5 years to do a shred of fucking evidence research. But the first article that came out, if you skim through it and you're Maria Farmer and you're just looking to be angry, you might conclude that from the article, it says I called the FBI when I was 14. Which, why the fuck would I call the FBI when I was 14? The article does not say that. I have never repeated that. I have never said that I did that. I called during the fucking pandemic when I finally saw Ghislane Maxwell in the news, and I was like, oh my God, that's that lady that approached me when I was 14. And I didn't even remember from the Trump Epstein party because it was so irrelevant. I only saw her for a second. She just came over and made the announcement down the stairs, came over. And then, I was trying to talk to her to say, can I go? I really wanted to go to Mar-a-Lago. I thought it sounded like a blast. I used to rollerblade past there all the time. And I was like, that place looks so fun. For her to act that way was just so wild. It was just unbelievable. She created all these fake accounts. She trashed my podcast, gave me a whole bunch of 1-star reviews. And there you go.
It's and this was on Kaylee. She said the same thing on Kaylee's. I know. I was like, what do you mean you're the whistleblower? Like, of course you're a whistleblower. You know that. Right. Like, yes, you are a whistleblower. She's not.
No one's on here saying I'm the whistleblower. Fuck Maria Farmer. Not a fucking one of us.
And I have screenshots too. I was probably more polite to her than I should have been. And I had shared this with you. I even invited her on my podcast.
I know you did.
And then I said
you invited both of us on at the same time.
I invited both of you on at the same time.
I was game.
And she just never responded, just only trolled and bullied me, jumped on any podcast that had the word Epstein in it in my library and tried to discredit. And it was just a really horrific experience for me because this was somebody, and I was still, you can see this was season 2. This was 4 years ago for me.
Yeah.
I was still new and kind of green to this. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've never met a survivor that treated other survivors like this. Like, why can't they all be whistleblowers? And like, why can't we support everybody? Right. Why is this woman who's like, has the means to give other people a voice trying to suppress the voice of other survivors who could corroborate her story?
Yeah.
Like this could be so good for her to come together with you and Kaylee.
Really stupid. Well, all it does is proves what we're saying. They're so dumb. And we've got so much evidence of how stupid they are. I hope it goes down in history. This whole chain of commands of just all of this. It's, my goal was never to set out and make history, but I already have, because I want to go back to Sasha Riley for a second. Yeah. His testimony came out, and then we heard the news, and his testimony, oh my God, with the steak, the tent steak and Donnie, that finally everything made sense. Everything made sense why that man shits himself everywhere he goes and has since the 90s worn diapers. Even on The Apprentice, they were saying that they would have to hose him down. They had a person who was called Wet Wipe Andy or something like that. His nickname was Wet Wipe. And Trump would just shit himself in the middle of a shoot, and then they'd have to stop and have to change his diaper and reset. And that was in, the Apprentice era. He's too young to be that incontinent. So and then the records that his PCP, primary care physician, was a gastroenterologist. Why is your main, and Epstein too, they all had shitty bowel systems. I don't think it's good for your health being evil.
No, I completely agree. And I'm going to share this other one too, just so people can see. So this was your episode. This one right here. So this was on one of your episodes. This was episode 41. This is my first year podcasting. And she says, shame on you supporting a known grifter who lies about abuse, talking about Molly. Some of us were actually trafficked, unlike this con. And I wrote, I'm unsure why you deleted your last comment, but I responded back to you that I'm a podcast host who doesn't take sides. I give a platform to anyone who would like to come on, and I judge no one. You're more than welcome to come on my show and share your side of the story. I'm even happy to have you both on, meaning Maria and Molly, at the same time, and listeners can hear both sides. It just was very, very confusing to me and really disheartening to see that, because I saw your passion. People can watch your episodes. It was very emotional going through all that with you. You went through a lot in your childhood. The Epstein Maxwell Trump saga has just dragged you through the mud. And it was just really disheartening to finally see you finding people who you could relate to, reaching out to them in good faith, and seeing the way that they treated you, shut you out of the narrative. And then they're the ones going on TV.
I've known about this world since I was 6, definitely confirmed by 9 when I was raped. So I've been waiting since 2nd grade.
Yes.
To talk about this. And I finally found people who I'm like, I told you this at the beginning. I tried to come out on Facebook when I was active on Facebook, and the boomers would be like, TMI, this is personal, blah, blah. And it's like, how is it personal? I was abducted by a stranger, raped by this stranger. How is this a personal, private thing? But it was like, Molly, go back in the closet, fuck off. So when I saw all these people talking about it, and the Me Too movement was taking off, and Jeffy had just flown me to Manhattan to see a show up there, and we out of nowhere walked out into the Women's March. This was like 2017. It was wild. And I was like, are we finally able to talk about this? Is this going to happen? Like, I didn't even participate so much in the march as I just kind of witnessed it and was like, that's really interesting that this energy is walking by me right now. They were protesting Trump and protesting, about women's rights and all this stuff. And I was like, is this finally, I have been waiting decades to have this conversation that no one's comfortable having. And yet it's like, okay, so to the point where I lash out to people. I'm like, wow, I hope you go through everything I went through. I fucking enjoy. You tell me how you like it and how you've handled it, and if you should get closure, or if it's TMI and you should go talk about it in your closet.
100%. And I wanted to ask, in your opinion, or even with what you've been able to put together, what why are they pushing people out of the narrative like this? Why isn't Kaylee Shea Brigandi allowed to have a say, and she's not counted? Why are you?
Because it's all organized. It's all pre-planned. They're letting certain people run with the narrative and control it, because the attorneys are all corrupt. None of these attorneys are on the up and up. If you read through the files about Brad Edwards, about Pottinger, about Boyes, none of these people are good people. They're all people that take 33% of every claim, because you don't pay them up front. So they love taking cases and using this blackmail and all of this information. I'm a fringe victim. They don't want me. I know pieces of the puzzle. I was offered contracts. I don't have NDAs. I don't have contracts. I didn't participate. So they don't want to hear from me. I've found my recruiter. Nobody calls me. All of my stuff was released, like the DOJ drops December 23rd, and then just the other day, if you Google Ghislane Lisa Villeneuve or Lisa Villeneuve, it shows up back to me, and yet not a fucking publication in the entire world has reached out to me to even corroborate, to say, what's up with this? What's up with this evidence? This is clearly you. Where's the news? Where's the actual news? There's no real attorneys and there's no real media. It's all part of the PSYOP.
And one thing I want to touch on, this was a really big deal. We were all really excited. You were given an opportunity to go on Piers Morgan recently.
And even Nancy Grace before that.
Can you talk a little bit about those experiences?
Yeah, so I think it was in 2021, Nancy Grace's producer, Janine something or other. I have all her screenshots up too, because fucking shame all these people. They all go in my book. Every single reporter, media, everyone that has reached out to me and failed. I have even told them, I'm like, you're in my book. High five. I hope history is not kind to you because you don't deserve it. And sorry, I lost train. Yelling at the media. And I was invited on Nancy Grace. They picked me up in a town car. They did hair and makeup. They shot the whole thing. I didn't record it because I gave them the benefit of the doubt. That's why I ended up recording the Piers Morgan thing, because I was like, is this guy, I think he's a Trumper. He seems to be protective of Trump. Either way, he's part of the network, Piers Morgan. You can see he's clearly part of the network. He goes to the party. He knows these people. He supports Trump. He supports this. He goes back and forth on things. And so the Nancy Grace thing, Maria Farmer caught wind of it because I was celebrating it. It was so exciting to me. And I told her the exact same thing, who my recruiter was, who they tried to sell me to, the dates, the times, events, everything I've been saying over and over and over again. And then they didn't release it. And Maria Farmer was posting online, Nancy Grace, all caps, at Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace is interviewing trolls who never met anyone. And it's like, how the fuck do you know who I've met and why do you care so much? It doesn't make any sense. What I've seen as the theme is she's constantly bitching about money and she feels used. In the most recent drops right now, there's a whole bunch of her screaming at Brad Edwards and Boys and Sigrid McCauley and all of her attorneys, Freeman, FBI agents. And she's basically saying, I agreed to do XYZ and you guys were supposed to do XYZ. And now you've shafted me and you used me. And I only got this. I only got this amount of money when actual whores were getting this amount of money. So, I mean, she spells a lot of things out. And then you made it, your screenshots in there. She's got these really stupid screenshots. Like she's got one of me in there and she's like, this woman won't let it go. And my screenshot basically says, I don't know what her problem is. She will not talk to me, nor will she let me speak. And I don't know how that's harassment when she's making fake accounts. You go back to my little wall there. You'll see the fan art she made me. She says I've stolen 2 cars. Yes, that was another thing. She says I'm a felon and that I've stolen 2 cars.
And these troll accounts, like they're active today. Me and Molly were just talking the other day. She's still
the majority of them are. Yep.
Yes.
One of them disappeared. Her most recent troll account, the one that you confronted, she finally deleted that when Virginia died or went away.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah, she's still, and then we'll come back and be like, oh, well, I don't want to be a victim of Molly's bullying. So what do you expect me to do? And I'm like, so it is you under this troll account. And if you can't swim in the water with sharks, why are you diving in with a mask?
She's lying about it too. You'll find screenshots. I think she's talking to her sister. It says Anne in one of the screenshots. And I know her sister's name is Annie. But she was saying, they were trying to say that account wasn't hers. And her sister was saying, I think it's George B. Tonk's account. And he's impersonating Molly to try to rile you up. But I don't think it's Tonk's account. It doesn't talk like Tonk's. It talks like her. Tonks wouldn't put all this effort in to do this. So it was just really stupid that even she's telling her sister, oh, it's not me. Oh, it's not me. Because I'm sure her sister's like, leave her the fuck alone.
It's just bizarre. If you're real, like you weren't given a huge following, tons of money and recognition.
No,
like if anything, the stuff that you've been written up for has largely been, I mean, we just saw you were painted as a troll in a national publication. Like
yes.
They've been gaslighting you. And so for her to pour all this effort into continually trying to beat you down is just very confusing to me. Cause I'm like, you had the world stage. You're the one on it. Like Molly's not being given that. Why are you so worried about her if she's lying and she's not telling the truth?
Which go
exactly.
Baby, new babies on the balcony. Hi. They're so cute. But yeah, I don't understand her in the slightest, and she comes across as very unhinged, and then it shows that she's the one stalking. Like I said, go back to my thread, and we'll see more of that on there as well. I mean, and I have thousands of screenshots. I couldn't post them all.
100%. Yes. And it's just, I mean, that's like what's been really eye-opening to me, because that is what happens. That's the pattern that happens when there's a whistleblower that is telling the truth. I get attacked in the same way that she's using cult tactics and Darbo on me and on you. And so to me, that is a big sign that this isn't somebody that is on the side of you. She's not supporting you. She's not supporting other survivors. She is trying to silence survivors. She's trying to silence my podcast. She's trying to silence other people.
She was calling me Methy Molly.
Horrible.
Who does that? I have no history of meth. I have no history of drug abuse.
Right.
So why go there?
It's very concerning.
I mean, to the fact that there's a whole nickname. If you look up Methy Molly, you'll find some of her other accounts on Twitter. She still has a whole bunch of accounts mocking me. Molly the Troll. Let's Not Be Frank, my podcast. Like, she trashed my podcast. She got other people to harass and trash my podcast. I mean, it was volatile. My blood pressure was through the roof at the time. Luckily, it's, you know, I'm good with it all now. But the whole thing is just like they want to box you right out of the ring.
Exactly. They only want to give certain people a spotlight, and there should be people given spotlight, but all of you should have the opportunity. There shouldn't be handpicked people allowed to be heard, allowed to be seen, allowed to have support from the public, allowed to be funded or have a settlement or go to court. Right. This should be a group effort where they're inviting everybody. And that's what I keep saying.
I keep trying to say we need to do a class action lawsuit against the government. I mean, literally all we the people for not educating us properly, for putting us through the PSYOP, for putting us through known events. You know, if we're supposed to be reporting trafficking, looking out for these things, then why didn't you educate us properly when you're aware of these things? You're so aware of these things that you're supposed to be educating us through elementary school, through middle school, through high school. I mean, we should be suing for that as well. And hold on, one other thing I want to say before I see anything. I wanted to go back to Sasha Riley. So Sasha Riley released his audios. I couldn't listen to them right away. I got all the transcripts and put them through ChatGPT to kind of give it to me because it can really fuck me up for a long time to hear it all. So I had to just kind of read all of the stuff, and I was following everybody and getting the gist of everything. And then the DOJ said they weren't going to be, that they were not obligated to, nor were they going to release any more files. So as an act of defiance, I posted my testimony because just like Piers, I videotaped it because Piers cut out the majority of my conversation. So I have posted that video, also his cut video. He cuts all the bullying things that I set out, which he tried to have me on to talk about me being called a troll, and yet wouldn't let me talk about the whole situation. So yeah, here's this one here. If you want to go to my blog, it's mollyskybrown.com, myname.com. And this is one of the top posts. But here, scroll up a bit and you can see, no, I'm sorry, down. You can see that that's my camera view. Yeah. That was me in the producing room. That was me. My husband retweeted it. This is me in the room. You can see it cuts back to this 5-panel back and forth if you go watch the video. But I figured he wasn't going to do it. They invited me on. I responded to the email and said I was going to be talking about XYZ. So I already prefaced them that I was going to be talking about these things. And all they wanted to do was try to throw me under the bus. And I won't let them. Too smart, too clever, too educated. Been doing this forever. Trust no one.
100%.
You've listened to my deposition. You've heard everything because that's what I told Piers Morgan in a matter of 7 minutes is all the time I was allowed.
And Molly actually, I think I have this shared on her YouTube channel. She recorded her call with them, which is very, very smart, and posted what the completely unredacted, uncensored version, so you guys can hear what the message she was supposed to be able to say. Yeah. And then you can go back and listen to what they allowed to be heard. And it is 2 entirely different narratives.
Yeah, it's really shitty. It's really shitty. And I have links to both of them on my blog. So if you pull this up, you'll see the edited one that's on Piers Morgan's page and the unedited version that's on my YouTube channel. And
one thing I was really proud of you for is you posted your oversight committee testimony from Zoom that you did September 11th of last year. And it's getting a ton of traction, which is really cool because
it's been amazing. It's been amazing the amount that people sat through almost an hour, 15-minute video, like the majority. It's ranking just insane. So I really caught a nice win there, inspired by Sasha. People were really pissed that the DOJ said they weren't releasing anything else. And I was just like, fuck this. And thankfully people saw it, and some girl, I woke up, I think her name is Lime Accordion, but she calls up on TikTok all of her constituents and yells at them all on camera for us. And she's the one who said, so we got some bad news that the DOJ isn't going to release any more files, but lo and behold, we got a Christmas miracle. And she says, welcome, Molly Skye Brown. And thank you so much for releasing your testimony, and go listen to it right away. And then people immediately went and listened to it. And then Megan started picking it up on TikTok too, because she was like, what? And she's super into this and sees all the patterns as well. So she's connecting all these dots, all this new information. And Sasha Riley's testimony did this too. We're all connecting all these dots. Oh, I've heard this testimony. Oh, that sounds like Zora Ranch. Oh, that sounds like adrenochrome. Oh, that sounds like human harvesting. Oh, that's ritual abuse. I mean, there's things you can, if you look through the Epstein files, first of all, they dumped 3 million more files, and it talks about murder, baby murders, rapes, child rapes, blah, 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 blah. There's still, 2 million files missing? What the fuck is in there?
And Molly was actually in this last drop, which was really cool.
Multiple times.
If you want to talk a little, I have one up on the screen right now. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
This one's from, I think, Maria Farmer, just talking shit about me. Yeah, this is Maria talking shit about me, yelling in her Trump tone, bashing everyone, and Virginia's an angel, even though if you pull up my link, the one we're looking at where the testimony and stuff, it was proven Virginia was 18, an adult, when she trafficked 14-year-old Carolyn and sold her. It's literally, Judge Prescott released those files. It's in that blog post of mine that it says Virginia, the plaintiff, was 18 years old, and so was her boyfriend that trafficked the minor. So the whole story is trying to be palatable, that all these little 17-year-olds are getting caught up in this, and they're in an in-between where they're not yet adults and they're not still children, but they're still protected by the law. And oh my God, just all this bullshit. And then it hides the organ trafficking, the organ harvesting, the baby trafficking, the breeding, the sacrifice, the children that are involved, the adrenochrome, the drug, everything. And it's global. So if they're trying to control the narrative of it's just some 17-year-olds and a prince, nothing to see here. I mean, I have a problem Virginia saying that she was raped as well. She was paid $15,000 to bed the prince. How's that rape? And she was 17. She was of legal age over there. I get she was trafficked, but that's not rape. That's trafficking and being part of compromise. Like, just speak the truth. She was 18 when she did this to a child, when she trafficked Carolyn, who's now dead, by the way. She was going to testify about Virginia. She said Virginia should be held accountable. Virginia is a recruiter. Oh yeah, look up Carolyn Adreno. If in my blog post, also there's a link. I think it says Jonica Bray did an article. That's what Maria's freaking out about right here. Jonica Bray did an article, and in the DOJ files that you were just looking at, and it was showing that people did not have a great relationship with Virginia, that she was attacking hidden survivors. They showcased me. They also worked with Carolyn Adreno's mother, who she hates Virginia. Carolyn said that she deserves everything, that all the other recruiters should be. If Ghislane's in jail, she should be too. So I mean, that's the thing is they're using a lie, and are we going to allow that? I mean, if it didn't affect anyone or anything, who cares? But it affects everything.
Well, and the thing that's most concerning for me is, of course, it's devastating when you hear of young teens and even late teens being exploited or asked or trafficked or coerced into doing horrific things with these older men who obviously could easily take advantage of even an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old. It's horrific no matter what age you are. However, most of the survivors that I have met that have not testified in the same way publicly and on mainstream that these other survivors have were trafficked through the network and met Epstein as a child. There is nobody allowed, it seems, to be able to say that little children, innocent children, are going through these trafficking rings too. It's not just teenagers that were being recruited. It was MK Ultra test subjects from these elite families that are being hired by the government, work with the government to traffic.
Megyn Kelly, she's trying to defend Epstein, saying he's an ebophile, not a pedophile.
And it's like, there is a lot of evidence, actually. There's more survivors speaking out that their experience with this circle network, with Epstein in particular.
And that they never benefited. They never participated. They weren't willing participants. And I get that she's trafficked and born into it, but at some point, you're a fucking adult now. Or she was. I mean, she's not that much younger than me.
Right.
So at what point are we like, you're not a 17-year-old anymore? And you didn't do all these things when you were 17. You clearly left later. And you skip over all that time and you attack other people. For her to discredit me and say I'm mentally ill, that's the fucking cheapest shot. Of course I'm mentally ill. You think all of this is just like fucking honey and butterflies?
Right.
It's called PTSD. It's called CPTSD. It's girl interrupted syndrome. And it's just been so mean. But yeah, go back to my blog. This is just her bitching about other people, Maria Farmer, and she can pick her own battles. I don't talk to these people. I don't talk to Hervey. I don't talk to House and Habit. She's a Trumper. So's Hervey's a Trumper. So yeah, just go back. There's that. She made that about me. No, scroll down. Oh yeah, these are all messages of her just being super mean. And her attacking Joanna. She was a campaigner for Virginia. She was like her #1 fan, and she boosted her up and was very supportive of her. And then Maria Farmer was attacking her to the point where Maria Farmer, I think one of them in there is Maria Farmer attacking Joanna to Joanna's brother. And that the brother was like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, I believe my sister. I've witnessed her life. And in Joanna's situation, she was targeted by Mohammed al-Fayed, which is connected to the royal family, which is also Herod's and Fayed are also connected to Trump.
Yes.
So it all is the same network. And this is what I was saying at the beginning. We are all puzzle pieces. And they were like, no, we don't want everyone to see the puzzle.
Right. We just want a couple pieces to throw at you so you can never put it all together.
Right.
And it's going to be very specific puzzle pieces that all have a very similar narrative that we're going to present. So we don't see the deeper layers, the outsiders, the different information. It's a very like selectively controlled narrative.
Controlled narrative. That's exactly it. And it's been planned. It's all part of MK Ultra. So yeah, that's a nice little picture of me with the ape face over my face because that's my podcast. So this is when I talked about episode 19, the Epstein Maxwell Trump thing. And she says, I'm a fanatist.
Was this Virginia or Maria?
Maria was making all of this in honor of Virginia. And then, so David Loves Maria is the handle there with Virginia. She was trying to pretend that her fiance, David, was making all of this, which I don't know who David is. People don't even think he exists.
Probably another troll account.
It was that she was clearly using because she makes this art. She's the only one this hysterical. So yeah, this is, I got the royal family to fire the PR guy. He botched it up because I went to the FBI and the media and showed them all the screenshots. Ooh, ooh. I took down a spin doctor of the royal family. So this is what I mean. Everyone can do something really great. It's not that hard. You just got to do it.
Oh, I love Sonia.
It was so sweet to interview me. She saw everything. She was attacked too. Maria Farmer was attacking her viciously just for talking to me.
Probably just the same. She probably received the same exact treatment that I got.
She sure did.
Sonia, if you guys don't follow Sonia, you guys should. She's a freaking warrior. She is.
She is. Oh, yeah. She's been outing the pedophiles for decades.
And she even got out. She worked for sort of a mainstream outlet and was very outcasted because she was willing to share truth and they didn't agree with it. So she does.
And she's been sued like me.
She does her. She's a true independent journalist.
Mm-hmm. And she handled it. She won her case. This is hilarious. So speaking of blackmail, this is when Ghislane was pretending she was at the In-N-Out Burger in California, when she was really in Massachusetts and hiding, and her attorney helped her make all of this fake art. Look at the trash can. Do you see the big white scribble? What the fuck is this? Was in the freaking paper. There's a gap between her ear and the car. There's all, do you see the bench?
Yeah, what is this?
It's Photoshop. Look at the bricks. They all overlap and they're all wonky. This made the papers. That's how bad it is. They're really bad at this shit. Hi, baby.
Do you want any more meth or are you good?
You know what? I'm methed out. I'm all methed out. He'll ask again in an hour, he said. I don't even know how do you do meth? I don't even know.
Too cute.
But yeah, isn't that insane?
Yes.
So, I mean, this is what they do. They make compromat. They are liars. I mean, her shirt, look at that. That same scalloping.
That's so weird.
The gravel just floating there. Oh, they're terrible at this.
That's so weird. And even if this was true, like if this was the actual photo, if you were to sit at a restaurant and eat food, why would you choose this bench if you're all alone over the whole benches that don't have?
Well, and there's 2 drink cups. There's other food and stuff. There's a dog that doesn't belong to her. That dog belongs to her attorney. Like, there were so many things. They're so sloppy. And this is why I want people to see, we got this. We can take them. They're dumb boomers. We are the young generation that knows how to do everything. The meek inherit. The young are so educated that we never grow old. You know, all of these things that were said. But isn't that wild? That made the papers. That was, and it doesn't even say, they don't even address that in the paper. They just printed it.
How bizarre.
I know. No one talks about it. They have finally talked about it, that they did something, but they don't talk about it enough.
Right.
I mean, I can see more anomalies. Even under the van, something looks like it's cut really funny.
It does. It's like that wavy, like sort of like her shirt. It just has that like weird texture. Almost like the smoke or something in random places. Or like the cotton balls like floating around.
Yeah. Whose article is this? This Daily Mail? I'm trying to remember who came out with this. This picture is hard to find. This particular one, they don't want people finding.
This is
Daily
Mail. Yep. Dog Dexter in the shot.
That's how they figured it out. They figured out it was the attorney because they recognized the dog. So they didn't even mention the shitty photoshopping in this article. They just say, or they might, I don't know. A couple of them finally did talk about it, but very, very quickly. I don't know if they mention it or not, but they talk about the dog was identified as her attorney's dog. So like I said, they're really sloppy.
100%.
And that's what gave it all away.
How weird. Yeah, it's interesting too how easy it is to get away with these photos because we're so like our attention to detail is so short now. We just look at things really quick.
Yeah.
And so they sort of, take advantage of that and it works most of the time. A lot of people probably could have really easily just skimmed this article and not noticed any of this.
Well, that's what she was banking on.
Right.
But the dog is what gave it away. How funny is that? That they're like, that's not her dog. That's her attorney's dog.
It's like, well, then what's it doing?
Now your attorney helped you with this. So it's just wild. And it looks terrible. Like that seat looks super blurry and under the car. It just looks very jaggedy, cut weird. No, let you go under the car too. I never even looked at that one. Yeah, go under that car.
Here.
Down here. That is wild. What is that?
What is that?
And we know what it is. She was trying to say she was in LA when she was in Massachusetts or New Hampshire, wherever they got her. She was trying to throw off her scent.
It is very strange. It's a very awkward looking photo and it doesn't make any sense.
It helps what I'm saying. And I'm trying to get people to have eyes to see.
And that's
once
what
you
you
have eyes
need.
to see, you will start seeing these things.
Because the point isn't to say, because here's the thing, right? If some of this stuff is true of what's speculated, that these are some of the girls that have made it mainstream are being used for an agenda, that means that they are still in captivity. They're still slaves. And they're probably still being abused, you know, they're not free. And that is really sad. You know, that's what we have to realize, is that like we need to get people free. And it's almost like Hollywood. You know, we see people that aren't free and we're paying to go watch them on stage, and we don't realize that we're contributing to their trafficking. We're not helping.
Right.
So
I mean, look at artist Lana Del Rey. I think I've said this to you before. One of her albums was there's tunnels under Ocean Avenue, and a bunch of her songs talk about being raped under there, hearing other girls being raped, generational trauma. It sounds like she's being raped by her grandfather and her dad. Just read the lyrics. And like I said, the album cover it says there are tunnels under Ocean Avenue or something like that. Why is she saying that? And then I'm like, who are the super fans of hers who read the lyrics and then are like, let's go to the show? Like, how do you guys not grasp what she's saying?
Right. And if we do bring in the piece of MK Ultra mind control and recognize that, and I mean, we were talking right before this too, there's a journalist who has done some research on Maria's background, and it seems like her great-great-grandfather was involved in some very interesting things too. Do you remember that off the top of your head, what that was?
Something with the Constitution, like way back then, like founding fathers shit.
As advocates, as people who care about the truth, you know, we need to focus on the problem, which is there are pedophile rings and mind control rings and satanic, you know, covens in a sense that are trafficking kids, that are programming people, and then they're using them in the public spotlight to help an agenda move forward against the person's will.
Some of those people are revolting.
Yes.
Like a lot of the people you've interviewed, they have rebuked that, and they're telling their stories. These are all the people that are stuck in it. Like, look at Lady Gaga. Look at Justin Bieber. Like, I mean, they have billions of dollars, and yet they can't tell us what really was taking place, because I'll even speculate at the Trump party I was trafficked to, the Epstein Trump party I was trafficked to. I believe that they meant to drug me, and then you are videotaped. The guy you're with is then under blackmail. You're under blackmail. I believe when Dargan, the guy who's been suing me, I believe he videotaped me when he raped me. I wouldn't take the drink he was trying to give me because I don't trust anyone. And he pinned me down and raped me. And I believe he video recorded it. And it's all the same thing. It's all blackmail and control.
Yes, 100%. Blackmail, pedophilia, and bribery. Everything.
And that's why they're offering me those 2 honeypot contracts. You know, Erica Kirk, I believe, is a honey trapper.
And I want to talk about that with you too. We have an article about that I want to go over the honeypot contract stuff with you too in just a second.
Yeah.
But Molly had actually sent this to me for people who are just listening and not watching. And there's a photo of this really interesting tranquilizer chair that Benjamin Rush, who is Maria Farmer's great-great-grandfather, who's also a signer of the Declaration of Independence. This was something that he used on patients, was this weird-looking chair. And if people that follow this podcast, it might seem reminiscent of some type of a mind control thing. And I'm not saying it is or isn't, but this is very bizarre, you know? And so if you look at the history of some of the people that we are allowed to listen to, there's also a lot of signs of, you know, some type of CIA interference and a mind control background, which would also explain Maria's outbursts and the different, you know, personalities that she shows up with online, you know, and I try to take that into account and meet that with compassion too, realizing that she might have parts that are firing off.
I've tried to talk to her from every angle: angry, empathetic, compassionate, aggressive.
But if we're not like questioning this, then we're allowing their trafficking to continue, and we're allowing them to be used, and we're not actually helping by supporting, you know, in the ways that we think we are. Like, we need to listen to these uncomfortable truths and look at these different things that are not being talked about so we can create a bigger picture and actually get down to the root of this, which is a lot of what Molly brings to light and what she has been saying. And same thing with Sasha Riley's testimony, shining a different light on these different rings. And even the Epstein files that were just released, you know, talking about child torture and murder and rape, you know, these really sadistic things that we hear about in satanic ritual abuse and MK Ultra families that happen that people don't want to believe happen. And I understand why. It's extremely uncomfortable to realize that this not only exists in our world, but that it's being perpetuated by such powerful people who are, taking advantage of their power and exploiting people behind the scenes while they're putting on a smile for us. It is extremely uncomfortable to realize that. However, by not doing that, we're not only silencing survivors like you, Molly, who can come forward and share information that can put this together, but we're continuing a trafficking.
Yes, we're perpetuating the problem.
We're perpetuating the problem. We're not actually helping.
By non-belief.
Right.
The whole reason Trump was elected was to save the children. That was the whole campaign, was to end this that we're talking about. And now it's like, what are we fighting about anymore? I don't remember. Right.
And even Virginia Giuffre, you look at her nonprofit, the icon she picked for that was a blue monarch butterfly.
Right.
Why of all things did she pick that?
Her pictures are weird. Like there's a girl in them that looks like a face. It looks like butt cheeks, some of them. There's a lot of symbolism there. And then there's another picture of her, like she's recruiting people and she's drinking a glass of wine and smoking a cigarette. And like, let me be your mentor. And it's like, she wanted to, I think it was with Eliza Blue and possibly, I think it was Teresa Helm as well. They were all on her committee and they wanted to start going to schools and educating girls against this. And yet she's got this programming, this look, which is all sexual. If you look at it, it looks like they're having sex or doing stuff in these logos. And then she's smoking and drinking. How are you a role model for children?
Yes.
That was all on her website. I still have pictures of all of that.
I think I remember. I think you've showed me those before too. And
they're
even
very weird.
If you listen to, some of the last footage that people have of her talking and speaking, Virginia, she talks about a kill switch, which we know from listening to people who are under mind control that's a system that's put in place to prevent speaking out, So there's so much more to these stories. And one of the things also that you just mentioned just a little bit ago that I want to talk about are contracts. This is a really bizarre part of the story that you discovered, that you've been exposing, that I haven't heard a single other person talk about, but it's so common when you hear survivor testimonies, but for some reason, nobody's brought this up mainstream at all. And I'd love for you to talk about that.
Well, I think nobody's brought it up because they signed them, because they're NDAs.
Exactly.
So what I was offered, that I was told from Lisa Villeneuve, she now goes by Ghislane Lisa Villeneuve and sells real estate, same as I told her to do. I told her to stop chasing these billionaires and go into real estate because my stepmother did real estate in Palm Beach and she made more money than my dad, and my dad was a financial planner. So she was like, oh, that's very interesting. And I also think that's why she got the name Ghislane, because she wanted this guy, I think I think she said his name was Bo, and he was the heir to Gillette. I've never been able to find this guy, but she's always wanted him. And he was like this eligible bachelor that kind of flew under the radar, super, super rich billionaire. And I was like, what if you pissed him off? I'm like, first of all, you're a 19-year-old with no education. You really offer nothing. You live with your parents. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm trying to protect you. And what if you piss him off one day and you're a little bit older and he just fucking kills you and replaces you with someone who looks like you? And it's just a hilarious inside secret because they're billionaires and who fucking cares? And she was like, she had this weird cadence of, if you ever call her as her real estate, you'll know it's her. She would say, Molly, you are Einstein. You are so smart. Yes, exactly. And she would talk like this. So she was the one telling me about the contract. She's the one who invited me to this party and set up these two interactions with these two men that I met. The first one being Kurt Schmidt, who was supposed to be going into a role at Campbell's Soup. And he was a heroin junkie on his parents' yacht living in exile in the Atlantic Ocean is what was pitched to me. And what he needed was a babysitter to get him off drugs, get him partying less, and get him ready for all this. And you'll see he's been a CEO forever. And I think it even says in 2005 or 2015, it said that he had been a CEO for decades. And I was like, no, he fucking hasn't. He was a junkie on a boat in 2001. He'd never been a CEO that I was aware of. And he already had a girlfriend at that time. And so Lisa goes, he is not enjoying his girlfriend experience. This is the first time I heard that phrase. Girlfriend experience, GFE, is code for elite trafficking, escorting. It's known for escorting, which I did not know at the time. And if you look up on the Wayback Machine in the Internet Archives, if you type in TrumpEscorts.com, you'll see all the trafficking and the term GFE and girlfriend experience used. And they are partnered on that website, on the Wayback Machine. You can find pictures of someone that looks like Paris Hilton with the last name Hilton, with a name that people locally thought she went by with escorting. It looks like her, and the script talks about her. Yeah, Trump Model Management was, Paris was signed to Trump Model Management during this time. So, if you want, go to the Wayback Machine for just a minute. But when I was in high school and I had my modeling and talent agents, they all said to stay away from elite in Casablanca. They said Trump and Casablanca were basically trafficking. Like, they were trying to explain it to me in the 90s that they were exploiting. It was multi-level marketing, that it was like these fake events. Because I was like, how is Vogue involved? How is CoverGirl involved? And they are like, they make these events. They're not real events for like every person. Like, they put me on auditions, and I got for the opening of Sightings in the 90s. I'm in the call center. So is my big brother, for the intro to Sightings, the TV show, all through the 90s. And so I got stuff like that. And then when I'd see these big like Casablanca elite things going on, I'd be like, well, I don't understand why I can't apply to these or do his pageants. And they're saying it's not safe. And yet my same thinking as a child is, how are these people allowed to do this if it's not safe? If you know their problems, how are you allowing them to be in business around children? If you look up Casablanca also, and Trump Model Management, but if you look up Casablanca, it says that it was accused of inappropriate sexual activities with minors. And yet Trump signed his daughter to it. His own daughter. So going back to the contracts, Lisa was telling me that I would have to so first of all, she said that he's not enjoying his girlfriend experience and that she's a stick in the mud. And I said, well, why doesn't he just break up with her? And she said, it's not that easy. They have a contract. So this is where she starts telling me about the contracts, and that I would have to sign one also. And that I would get, yeah, there she is. And that I would get 10% of, in this particular situation, Kurt's money. So they said if I get him back on track and get him in his good graces, the contract would be that I would get 10% of his $100,000 a year salary. You can do the math real quick on that. That's less than $1,000 a month. That's not something you can live on. So I did the math real quick, and I was like, this doesn't work out. So if I'm his full-time girlfriend, because I was asking, like, what would be expected of me? I'm not having sex with him. I'm not going to be intimate with him. And she was like, it needs to look convincing to his family, to his, companies, outward facing. It needs to look convincing. And I was like, okay, well, I can show up to events and stuff like that. And the amount of time she was saying I needed to be present, I was like, that's a full-time job, and you're paying me $1,000 a month. That doesn't pay my bills. Like, no one can live on that. And that's the whole thing. They want you to sign the contract, not do the math. You're 14 years old. Who the fuck knows how old you are? Whatever. At this point, I was 22, and she was 19. So sometimes they get younger girls to go after older girls too. So no one suspects anything. So she was telling me about the contract, that I would get 10% of that, which is less than $1,000 a month, which means I'd have to take other Johns. So now it's no longer I'm a fake girlfriend for this one person. Now it's I have to have multiple fake boyfriends. So that's how they try to get you in and all the other contracts. And then when I turned down Kurt, because I met him at the Epstein party that dumped out to Trump's, I wasn't getting along with him. And I basically turned him down, met him on the yacht. And then the party went to the next location, and I wasn't allowed to go because I didn't take the drink on the yacht that Lisa tried to give me. And then she freaked out at that point because I wanted to go in the house at that point. And I ended up getting into Epstein's house. That's where I saw the red room. Once I came out of the kitchen, it was, if you come in the front door, there was like a door to the right, I guess. And that was where the red room was. And the red room had it had lamps on either side of the bed. It had like a twin bed. There were some people in there, not a lot. Just, I think there were 2 or 3 couples in there, which it wasn't a huge room to begin with. And then, like I said someone was like sleeping on the bed where I thought they might have been someone's kid from the event, and they just kind of crashed in that room. So everything was just flying under the radar with my spidey senses, that's what they want. So I came in through the sliding glass door into the kitchen. I remember there was a desk right at the sliding glass door, and I came in and there was a black and white checkerboard kitchen, of course, Freemason kitchen. And then I came out of there, and the room was right to the left of me facing the door. And then she came down the pink spiral staircase and made the announcement. But the second guy they tried to set me up with was poet laureate Billy Collins. And he's like 40 years older than me, something like that. And he wanted to marry me. He wanted me to be his muse and basically like his gilded bird. And then the network, I'm guessing, wants me to keep tabs on them and, handle them is basically what some of the racket is. Everyone gets different offers for what they think they want you for. So Lisa wouldn't let me alone. I guess a lot of these Johns liked me, especially I said no, and I wouldn't pick any of them. None of them were good enough. So she kept trying to bring me back. And she was like, the guys really like you. They trying to sell it to me. But yeah, I mean, this is a recap of basically the entire night, this blog post. I tried to make it as easy as possible to understand. I put screenshots in so that you can see the people.
And the interesting thing, too, with this new bunch of Epstein, Maxwell, Trump, documents that just
Kurt
came
Schmidt's
out,
in this newest dump. Yep.
which totally validates your story. That was kind of like the Campbell Soup thing. You don't really hear Kurt Schmidt, you don't hear his name come up a lot. And so I thought it was really fascinating.
And it's connected. Kurt Schmidt, Campbell Soup is both connected in the Epstein dump that they just did. So I said his name. They said it C-U-R-T. So you have to look up C-U-R-T to find my report with his name. But if you type in K-U-R-T, Kurt Schmidt, S-C-H-M-I-D-T, if you look that up, he's in there in email conversations regarding Campbell Soup. So.
And you've said that name for years and years and years, so nobody can be like,
"Oh, one of the only names I remember."
Yeah, why didn't you just say that name?
Billy Collins as the poet laureate, which is so funny because there's only one poet laureate a year.
There he is.
So I know he a looker. I don't think he even likes women. Not that it matters, but it's all false. It's all illusions.
Yes,
it controlled networking and handling and whatever.
And you talked about the drugging too. There's drugs involved, and then camera.
We heard Hervey talking about the drugging. That the artist was drugged. That they made the picture. And then, like I said, I knew it was a poet laureate, and I remember my mom telling me it was Billy Collins at the time. And she was like, "Oh my God, he's such a well-known, respected. He lives in my area now. He lives in my town." Yeah, it's super creepy. Luckily, he's in his 80s. So not that scared. And he was nice. Oh yeah, that's where I came in.
There's the checkerboard.
That's the sliding glass door just to the left. That's where I came in. I remember seeing that desk, that floor. That's the staircase. The pink staircase with the pink stairs.
That Ghislane came down.
I was standing basically where this picture is taken.
Looking over, and then she comes down the stairs.
And then she came down the staircase. "Ladies and gentlemen, can I get your attention, please? I have some news." And then everyone went quiet. "I want to let you know that we are moving the party over to Mar-a-Lago via personal invitation of Donald Trump. He is over there waiting for us." And yeah, this is the second guy. And like I said, I didn't know who he was other than Poet Laureate, but then I typed in Poet Laureate 2001 and he was right there.
That's so crazy.
And I was like, that's him. He had the straw hat on at dinner. He even wrote a poem about straw hats. He was a nice guy. He was a very nice guy. It was a weird proposition. Again, I was 22. I met him at his residence. He lived at the Colony House. This is right here, the Colony Hotel, which is, again, a very high, expensive place. Like JFK had a place there. It's on Palm Beach Island. So we ate at the supper club there, and they had like a cabaret or something. And he was like, you could perform here and live up in my $2 million apartment with me and perform right here. And then they had like a supper club on the premise too. So that's where we ate. So he was basically showing me my cage. And I just basically was like, I can't do this. I'm not interested. And the only reason I even went was because I wanted to be an investigative attorney or an investigative reporter and an attorney. So I was like, tell me what's happening. Oh, go on. You know, I don't take the drinks. I just take the input.
How many girls were at the Epstein party that you went to, and then also at the yacht event that you, just kind of like an estimate, how many young girls were
they
here?
Were both the same thing. The yacht thing was at Epstein's.
Was the crossover, did everybody from both parties go to both things, or was there kind of a dispersion?
Yeah, everyone else left and went to Mar-a-Lago, and then Lisa took me back to her house. And then I wouldn't fall asleep. It was really weird when I got back to her house too. One of my survivor friends was like, she probably was trying to drug you, or might have, because they want to complete their mission. So they might inject you with something while you're sleeping and then traffic you to whoever. I don't know if any of that happened or not. I'm an insomniac from PTSD, from CPTSD. And unless I'm medicated, I won't go to bed for days. So I was at her house. I was wired. Like, again, she had the master bedroom for a house that was way nicer than Epstein's. Epstein's is a shithole compared to my trafficker's house, which was around the corner on the water also. She had the master bedroom, which had a fireplace in it, a wet bar, and, you know, just all these amenities, 2 giant balconies overlooking the intercoastal. And this is what you said earlier, that she said she outranked her parents. And she said that her brothers were rapists and that there were pinhole cameras everywhere. She would tell me what bathroom to use, that there weren't pinhole cameras in there. I just thought she was eccentric. I'm so used to growing up around bullies, people like Maria Farmers, like, that I didn't know what to do about their weirdness, that I was very naive, pretty gullible. I had to learn over time not to be, or I'd be fucking dead. But all of these people just really stuck out to me. And then I was like, well, they seem like they're damaged people, why they're behaving like this. So I would just kind of let it go. Okay, you're saying there's pinhole cameras. So I would pretend to pick my nose and I'd go like this in her bedroom and tell them all to go fuck themselves. And she would laugh so hard and giggle. And it was all just absolutely fucking wild. Absolutely wild. So the party that I was at, it dumped out to Trump's. I didn't get to go, but it was all the same people. I would say there was easily 80 people at this party.
Oh my gosh. How many?
I mean, it was all, if you look at that, it's all in the backyard. Scroll up to this picture. There were people inside the house and all on the patio too, around the pool area. They were on the dock. I was on the dock. There were multiple people on the dock. There was multiple people around the pool. There were tiki torches lit, a whole bunch of people all around the pool area in the little guest house back behind the pool there. And then to the left is Epstein's place. So I have marked it as 1. It doesn't say 10, 20, 30. It's 1. And that's where Lisa parked. And we went in through the side gate there to location 2, which is the dock where I met Kurt. And then when I got off the yacht, I went on back on the dock here, which you can't really see it, but there were people hanging out on the dock. It looked like Victoria's Secret models, like older ones in their 20s, really tall, beautiful, gorgeous women, and a bunch of men in business suits. And I went over to try to like infiltrate. I thought it was a normal party where everyone's just talking. And that's when Lisa's like, you know, everyone's having their own parties. You can't come. Everyone's having their own meetings, and they're all here talking to producers, directors, model scouts, blah, 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 blah. Some people are meeting people like me to date. It was just the weirdest party that made no sense to me. It was not the way it was proposed to me. That's why I thought I could just, you know, roam freely. So I get off the yacht, or I get off the oh, I got a knot in my hair. I got off of the deck and went up that way, back up around, and hung out in this area here waiting to go in. So I remember I was by if right in between the 3 and the 0, you'll see there's a spiral staircase. Do you see it hidden in the palm tree?
Oh yeah, right here.
Yes, that's exactly. I was in this area because I remember seeing that spiral staircase, and I was hanging out there with Bobby Cox. And there's a sliding glass door right there, right inside the zero. And that's what I was waiting to go inside. And while I was waiting there, Lisa Villeneuve went inside. And while I was outside, I was with that pimp model scout guy that had introduced himself, Bobby Cox. And he was the one also handling Kurt. And we picked him up on the way to the party. And this is the guy who introduced himself as a model scout. And then I said, oh, I've done some modeling. And Lisa said, he's not a model scout. He's a pimp. And I was like, how are those interchangeable? Like, very weird. So I was hanging out in this area with Bobby. He was handling me while Lisa was inside because I was demanding to come inside. My hair was frizzing. And Palm Beach, it's always warm and frizzy here. And even in October, November, whenever this fucking was, I was like, I don't want to be outside. I want to go inside. Like, I didn't understand who this party was or where. So I was acting like I was at a college party or a high school party where it's like, I can go wherever I want. So I'm waiting out there. And this is when Bobby goes, so it didn't work out with Kurt, huh? Well, what kind of millionaire billionaire situation do you want? And I just thought they were joking again. So I go, give me a billionaire with a foot in the grave. And he goes, so you want an Anna Nicole Smith situation? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Someone who can't rape me, who's in a scooter that only I charge. No one who can hurt me. Someone I can pull the plug if they're going to try to hurt me. And so that's when they got Billy Collins. Because he was much older, poet laureate. He wasn't this weird guy on a yacht. Much more subtle. And, you know, I can see why people say yes.
Sure, especially if you're like a trauma abuse victim too, like you were talking about.
Woman.
Yeah. And especially if like you're abused by your father too, and you're looking for like that father figure, you're missing that.
Not that I was abused by my father, but I was always looking for someone to help me,
to protect you and
help protect me. Let me tell my story. Let me get out of this. And it's just one trap to the next.
Right. And it's interesting.
And if you sign an NDA, you're fucked.
Right. And
even though they're very illegal, if they have illegal activity in them, they're moot. They're illegal.
Did you get to see one of these contracts?
No, I was only told about them. You don't see it until you are signing. And even then, you don't get to go home with it. You sign it there, I'm sure.
Right.
This is one of the things my father told me growing up in LA and seeing me go out on all these things. He said, Molly, if I can give you one piece of advice, and I'm going to give you many pieces of advice, do not ever sign a contract unless you have an attorney that you like and you have paid and you respect and who works for you. Look it over. Otherwise, they're slave contracts.
Right.
I mean, look at Billy Corgan. He talks about Smashing Pumpkins all the time that it was a slave contract. He's talked about the government reaching out to him to be a influencer in the 90s. And he was like, I'm like anti-government. Like, why the fuck would I be an influencer for you guys? So he says he's been followed and stuff. Like he talks about, I love that he talks about like the elites, the Illuminati, the government, the industry. He has a podcast and he goes into it. And thank God he finally does.
A recent guest I had on my podcast, Paz de la Huerta, who's a Harvey Weinstein rape victim.
Yeah.
She talks about Billy Corgan and how he actually was somebody who befriended her on her journey and believed her as a survivor. So
I feel like he's a victim. If you listen to some of his lyrics, you know, the Disarm You with a Smile, the Disarm You song, he says in there some things that just sounds like he was abused or part of the network as a child.
Oh my gosh, I bet. I think a lot of those people are, even if they don't have all their memories or their freedom, I think most of that Hollywood entertainment industry, music industry machine, Disney funnels, you know, kids from these families.
Absolutely. And I was on the Disney path. Absolutely. That's all I wanted to be was a Disney voice, Disney characters. And I'm very aware of the programming of Disney because it got me too. The princess programming.
It's really sad. Because we're like, you know, idolizing and cheering these people on, not realizing that they're probably tormented victims who have just gone through hell their whole lives, don't even see $1 of the money that they make, are under these contracts that you're talking about, being pimped out to people, and it's just an absolutely horrific system. And then there's the duality of the cover story of what we see as the public, just like with what we're talking about with the Epstein narrative.
Yep.
And then there's what's actually happening, in the darkness, which is a whole different story.
Right.
And so this is a very interesting piece of the puzzle because, like you said, a lot of these people are probably under contract. So, of course, they can't talk about them. It's something that
even though they can, but they're terrified. Their attorneys make it seem like you can't.
Exactly right. Yes. And we know what they do to a lot of whistleblowers who go against something like a contract oath or something. It doesn't end well.
They want them, if they become a problem, and the shit that they were doing to me is they want you to kill yourself. They want it to be so unbearable and no one's watching and no one's helping to the point you just kill yourself. Because then that's easy for them. They get a checkpoint for the crime they committed and they didn't even have to do anything. It's part of MK Ultra. It's part of satanic. It's Illuminati behavior. Try to get people to kill themselves without you having to lift a finger.
Or become homeless or become
absolutely.
Yes.
Oppressed. They 100%. Get off on how they're hidden.
And then the Trump model management, that's another piece too, I think that doesn't get talked about enough. I don't even think a lot of people know that Trump had this business. I know that it's allegedly.
And Paris was signed to it. You saw on here, Paris was signed to it. And then his daughter Ivanka was signed to Elite, which is Casablanca, who was accused. Oh yeah, Melania was Trump model management. All of these are clues. So now let's go to the Internet Archives. Are you familiar with that site, the Wayback Machine Internet Archives?
Let
me walk you through this because this is what I've been wanting to do. I've wanted to show people how to access this information because Trump Escorts is all over this site.
Okay.
I'll show you. And I'll show you the picture I think could be Paris.
Okay.
Yep, here it is. Okay, so the search button right there where it says go down at the bottom, or actually you can just use the top one. Either one of those. Type in www, use the top one.
Okay.
Use that one first. www.trumpescorts.com. So now here are all clickable footprints, echoes of, so the Wayback Machine is really cool. The way it was set up is that it can't be infiltrated or taken down. It really is a secure site of collecting information and flagging when things go off or change because it has mirror sites all over the world. It's not just in one location. So if you manipulate something here, the original record is still here, and then it flags something to say something was modified in this record, and now all of these go off to say there was a modification. So you can see the dates of this Trump stuff is in here. 2014, 2016 is when it ended. 2015, it ended around 2016 is when it turned into Mystique Companions. They copy and pasted the whole website over. So it's the exact same website. And it was based out of China, who we know Trump had good relationships with China. And so did Ivanka. And then it went completely under because they tried to say, I think it was a Washington Post article, which we can't trust the Washington Post either. None of these, they're all owned by his friends, basically saying Trump Escorts wasn't owned by Trump. It was someone pretending to be Trump or blah, 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 blah. But Trump just let it go. And he never talks about it. And he didn't sue. Like, come on, give me a break. So you can click on any of these if you want to. Oh, let me find the one that is, type in, wait, go to the top real quick or just up a little bit. In here where it says the filter results, type in there Hilton. Do you see down on the calendar here? There's little blue dots.
Yeah.
Those means there's records. So if you click that snapshot, you'll see the snapshot. There she is.
Here we go.
Who does that look like?
Interesting.
And then read the whole thing. It sounds just like her. Karina Hilton. And like I said, she was signed to Trump at the time. My recruiter told me she used to go to these parties because we ran into Paris on the way to Epstein's when we picked up Bobby Cox downtown West Palm Beach on Clematis. And we ran into Paris Hilton. And I said, oh my God, is Paris going to the party? And she said, no, I don't think she's going. She used to go, but she doesn't go anymore. But we might see one of her brothers. And so, I mean, it just makes sense to me. It's all included. And now Paris is like one of the new mouthpieces too of the movement. She's signing a whole bunch of things and she's been with the Epstein survivors. So she's invited with the Epstein survivors, but I'm not.
Oh my gosh.
I need her markup. Karina is an impossibly blonde, impossibly fit, impossibly energetic girl. Does that sound like Paris? Loads of fun and full of laughs. She has a great sense of humor and loves to be the center of attention. She is confident yet elegant and always polite and friendly. As outgoing as she is, she will always behave appropriately in any situation. Karina loves to dance, and in the middle of a popular bar with the music pumping is her favorite place to be, which she DJs now. My husband's shot her multiple times because she shows up at events that he's contracted for. So now she's a DJ when she's not even a DJ. She loves fast food. Remember she did the Sonic commercials? Remember the burger commercials she did? She loves fast food when on the run in her busy beauty product sales rep position, which she sells her own products and stuff too. But given the choice, Italian is her favorite food. She works that off with regular trips to the gym. Currently working on her studies part-time, Karina is an absolute sweetheart. So working on her studies, targeting girls that are still in school, whether high school or college, currently working on her studies part-time, absolute sweetheart. She likes wearing mostly casual and workout gear to be comfortable, which we saw. That's what Paris used to wear, were track suits. But she also loves to dress up in a lovely cocktail dress for a special evening out. Call us now to book some time with this bubbly, thoughtful, young girl. Young girl. Not young lady. Not young woman.
Oh.
She's in there connected to New York and Florida. And then if you go to fees, I think a lot of these links work. If you click fees, it should go. It will show PayPal is part of it. So these are all the divisions. Yeah. Okay. So PayPal is part of it. The first one you can pay via PayPal. That's Musk. And then here's the rates. If you are high class, elite, or super elite, you can rent the girls. Most people don't know how to look at this website in the slightest. There's a treasure trove of information here. It says girlfriend experience. It says Trump name. It says Trump over and 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 over. And everyone's like, Trump said it's not his. Trump also said his head was almost blown off. And he never talks about the dude. You can click, there's another page too, recruitment. It's not in here. You'll find it somewhere else. I have screenshots of it, but it talks about recruiting models. And if you know someone, to recruit them. So, and there's a whole way to apply. I think contact is one of them. Yeah. Trump International Escorts offering exceptional girlfriend experience. GFE established in 91, which is when Trump started doing the modeling stuff, was 91. Isn't this so disturbing?
It really is.
Right under our noses, and no media will fucking touch it unless to discredit it. So Paris isn't free either. I mean, she's born into it too. They use the hotels. Her sister's married. Nikki, her sister, is married to a Rothschild. Like, it can't get any grosser.
And one of my podcast guests, J.R. Sweet, he's testified he was arranged to be married to Nikki Hilton because of their family ties being in bloodlines.
Yeah.
And he was in rituals with Paris and Nikki.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yep.
So, I mean, what you're saying is exactly what's, others are testifying also, which is just horrific. Because again, somebody like Paris, even, we're rallying her and
kicked out of her home. If you're born into it, you have to comply. It's very risky. That's why I think it's so incredibly brave, all the girls and all the males who have just said, I am not going to be the thing you're forcing me to be, that they're all defiant.
Yes.
But yeah, it's all there. I mean, he has a treasure trove. There's a whole bunch of girls you can scan through. All of them, a bunch of them look like high schoolers.
Have you been able to tie this at all to any whistleblowers within the Epstein Trump, or just have you been able to tie this to anything?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Not ones that we know of, but I posted some of this stuff, and bartenders reached out to me, cocktail waitresses. They said they all knew about this, that Trump and Donald and his son used to come in and talk about Trump escorts, Trump international escorts, that they used to recruit at the bar. I think she worked at a strip club, but she was a cocktail waitress, like bartender. And she said they used to come in and try to recruit girls and talk about girls. And she said, I remember seeing this website. She was like, I have thought it always existed, but I haven't heard of it ever since like the 90s and early 2000s. She's like, so I almost thought it didn't exist. I almost thought I had like hallucinated it. So when I posted it, she was like, oh my God, thank you. This confirms it. I remember seeing this site. I remember them recruiting for this site, Trump. And I think it was Don Jr. She said they were big into Coke, and we know Don Jr. sure as fuck is. So, I mean, people have reached out saying they remember this.
Right.
They remember the Trump escorts. I just wish everyone could talk. I wish Paris could talk.
I know.
I wish everyone could just say, yes, this is what's happening, and now let's all be set free today, right now, at this minute.
And these are all puzzle pieces. We could understand all this a lot better if we had all the information, and with having limited hangouts and, you know, separation between survivors, mind control, whatever it is, you know, it's so hard to like put everything together in a presentable way when the pieces are floating, you know, and thanks to people like you who are connecting with other survivors and going out and publicly speaking, we're able to see a bigger picture, and we're discovering things that a lot of people didn't know about, including things like the contracts and this Trump international, you know, model management, which is, you know,
human trafficking.
Exactly. Yeah. Selling girls on the internet for money.
Human trafficking. Right.
Rent these girls for an hour, or however long. I mean, it's absolutely horrific.
Buy them for life.
Yes.
I mean, you can go, if you go back to the fees, you can see how long you can buy them for. It's insane.
Right. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I think it says like a month at a time. And then, like I said, they want to marry you off too. Yeah, go down at the bottom. You can have, a whole month. $110,000 from $48,000 to $110,000. You can have a sex slave basically for a month. Because what else are you doing? You're going to have a fake girlfriend for a month and then say bye. And what'd you guys do? Play cards?
And even just how they like label these girls. Elite models are for the most selective, super elite, suited for VIPs to demand only the best.
Right, we're cattle.
Right.
And I'm not flattered.
Our high class encompass the minimum high requirements that one would expect from a high class escort caliber.
That means they're worth less. You could probably not bring them home.
Well above average.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, you know, how did people not, like, how has this not been talked about? How did people just allow this and not even bat an eye about it?
It infuriates me. And that's why I share it. That's why I made my own podcast. That's why I made my own blog, because no one in our global fucking planet will do a goddamn thing. They won't investigate it. They won't call it out. And it's like, I guess you're all Nazis.
Right. 100%. And so let's talk. I want to talk about how people can get in touch with you and reach you, because I have a feeling this is going to maybe jog some memories, or some people might have something that they find
I hope so.
saying.
Oh, yeah. Feel free to reach out to me. I am very much an advocate. I love talking to people. I love getting puzzle pieces. I like organizing and getting people together that are similar. So there's a big, strong army of us. I am very approachable. I try to respond to everybody. I can't always see everything. I get a lot of contacts.
Oh gosh, I
get a lot of messages from just people thanking me that are not part of it, to thank you so much for helping me be able to share my story too. And the best way to find me is on my blog, mollyskybrown.com. And it's my full name. Don't forget the E in the sky, but it's mollyskybrown.com. All of my socials are on there. If you click on any of them, like, I'm on everything. You've got to be everywhere. You got to use these platforms. Like, imagine if we were in Nazi Germany and we had walkie-talkies and platforms and stuff. We have to utilize them while we can. So TikTok's compromised, then fly under the radar. Talk a little bit less about things, but connect it to YouTube, where you can go long form. You know, there's a whole bunch of ways that we need to manipulate and use all of this. So if you go all the way, I think down at the bottom, And I love protesting and calling out my rapist as well. So if you scroll down, oh yeah, there at the bottom, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there's Instagram, YouTube. And then if you find me on my Instagram, everything's on there connected as well. Like I'm on Blue Sky. Oh, if you go to my Instagram, in my bio is my link tree, and I have links to a bunch of these things, links to my blogs. That would probably be the best thing. Everything's curated there. I tried to make it very simple for people to see what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, follow along. And, let's advocate. Let's get our country and our world back for the first time.
I know. Oh my gosh, Molly, I just can't even imagine how exhausting your journey has been. I am just so amazed that you kept going. And I wanted to just pick your brain before we start closing up. For people who are in that space where they want to quit, they want to give up, or they don't even feel confident enough to take that first step forward, what would you say to those survivors?
Well, I would say a handful of
advocates.
Well, I would say a handful of things because not everything's going to resonate. First of all, if you are religious or you have religious programming, know that the Bible says 365 times, have no fear, do not fear. Okay, so that's one for every single day. We are meant to be fearless. Number two, if you're into spirituality and manifesting, whatever we believe is going to create our reality. So we all need to collectively get on the right page to create the new world and just make it and then write the boomers out. They're not going to know how to live in our world because we are going to gatekeep it. That these boomers do not know how to do what they're doing inside our world. So that's another way. Also, the prophecy is the meek inherit the earth, that the wicked are bound at this time. All of these things took place, whether they want us to leave them and they orchestrated it or they happened naturally and organically, whatever it is, this is the sequence we're going through, which says we bind the beast, we find it out. They've tried to invert the words. So the real word for apocalypse means revealing. They switched it to destruction and death because that's what it means to them. So they want us in a one world order, a one mind order, that we're the ones that die, that they live, that we're the ones that die. So that hopefully we'll manifest that, because whatever we believe is what our body, our energy will want to show us is real. So that's what I would say. And then try to find other hidden survivors, through your podcast. There's so many of us. Try to find us. A lot of us are finding each other on Threads, thanks to Sasha Riley. He's really riled up a bunch of people, and people are coming out and speaking more about their stuff. I immediately go and follow them to support them. And then we all kind of are knowing each other and getting to know each other. At the end of the day, it's going to be embarrassment that takes out this administration, as they should be. They should be horrified and embarrassed, but they have no shame. So we have to just keep exposing it. Like I said before, you don't want to sit on all your secrets. It just makes you a sitting target. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. You really want to take that brave step and start putting things out there. You have to go against the mind control. The mind control has said, be quiet, share nothing, or you die. And we need to change that to share whatever you can and get your truth out there so that it is documented and written. When I made my podcast, oh my God, I just realized this filter is so weird. It's like on half of my face. So weird. I can't stand these things. I remember I started my podcast in 2019 because I could feel like the universe and Jesus or God or the collective telling me to record my record before anyone could twist it. And this was 2019, early 2019. I didn't know who Ghislane Maxwell was. I did not start my podcast talking about her. She's number 9 in my podcast. And then the Epstein party is, I think, number 17 or something like that. Like, I was figuring this out way later. I started my podcast. So just start speaking, start warming up your throat chakra, start warming up your instrument that you're going to speak and command the reality that you know to be true into existence for us all to witness and support and embody and be a part of. Know that we're in your corner. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to say. And you and I discussed this before. There are more of us than there are of them. And they are going to run out of bootlickers and sycophants, because that is, if you look at the Bible or if you look at history, the Bible says the book of Revelation is going to happen. And it also says that these empires constantly happen and we have to thwart them and tie them up. And then we look at actual history where we see these empires do this shit and then they implode and they collapse in themselves. So that's what we're trying to make happen again. We're trying to see, okay, history does repeat itself. This will implode on itself as well. The history has said that they run out of sycophants, they run out of bootlickers, that the majority, the meek inherit. The meek are the majority. They're the loudest. And there's not enough of them. We're the Proud Boys. They're all employed. They're in ICE. They didn't disappear. They're making their bounty. So just know there's many, 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 many more of us globally. And if you understand karma or universal energy, if you don't want to follow a male god in the sky that men have the most control or allowance to, but if you want to just try to think of it in a way that karma, planetary, universal karma, does not want like 10 psychos to win. They're blowing up parts of the planet. They're killing children and sacrificing their blood on the land and erecting buildings. Do you think the planet's like, ooh, I love this? No, even that is like, get the fuck off of me. So we have that energy also. Know that we're the majority. We're the majority with the energy. We have the good karma. That's what they're always looshing off us. They're trying to have us take some of the karmic responsibility. That's why they tell us everything. So it sounds like we're allowing it. And we're not. We're witnessing it. We're assessing it. And I just encourage everyone to get together and let's figure out the new grid, the new planet, and start building it so that the boomers can't even get in. Make it password protected.
Amen, sister. The meek speak, and you are leading God's army, and we're so grateful for you. And this was a very revealing podcast episode. I really do think it's going to jog some memories, create some courage for people to reach out and provide their puzzle piece. And hopefully for people who are still stuck in the political programming, it can help loosen that a little bit so we can see a bigger picture that, you know, child abuse, child trafficking, elite pedophile rings, it's not a political issue. This is a human issue, and there's no one demographic that it fits. It's everywhere. It's infiltrated every avenue and aspect of society. So
and we're seeing more and more people get involved. You and I spoke at the very beginning. I know we're wrapping up here, but I wanted to mention really quick because I know that this is good stuff for the listeners as well. But you and I were talking about what can we do? And I said, well, I bought the domain of one of my rapists, two of the predators. I bought the domain of Ray Huizinga, which is the billionaire that tried to traffic me out of the country through the NFL, connected to the Dolphins that I sang for when I was 17. And then I bought Dargan Birchmore Watts Jr. Jr. Because that's the guy who's been suing me the past 5 years just to silence me. And I learned that trick from Clown World, I think is the name of his account. He used to be in South Park. He was in Scott Ferguson, I think that's called his episode, but it's the what? Tenement? Scott Tenement, that's it. He's the guy who played Scott Tenement, where Cartman got him to eat his own family in the chili thing. It was just diabolical. It's one of the nastiest South Park episodes. So he has been buying up people's names, like if they're Tyler Robinson connected, or that rapist who choked that girl and that teenager who got just a hand slap. He bought his name. He buys NRA people's names and then puts all of their records on there. And so I got the idea from him, and then he shares their links, which is their names. And if you Google these people's names, then these links start showing up because they're relevant. So you got to learn these strategies. And he's not a victim. He's just figuring out. Everyone has to figure out the game and how is the best play you want to play it, because we all hate this game, but we do have to play it.
Amen. I love you so much, Molly. We're going to have you on back again. I was saying before we logged in about, you know, your pursuit to getting justice going through the courts. I'd love to have you on and just really dive into that aspect of your story more and help people navigate that who are going through it also. But this was just an incredible episode. I can't thank you enough for coming on again and just for being such a dear friend, for being an advocate, for carrying so much weight on your shoulders, and then for also making so much space in your heart for other people's testimonies and for their calls and cries for help and need for hope. And you're always there, you know, for everybody flipping tables.
Put your hand up. Let's high five.
Boop.
No, over here.
Oh, wait, we got
No, this way.
you got to put it the other way on my screen.
Oh, is it on mine? It is. Okay, here.
There we go.
That's so fun.
Yeah,
All right, I
over
love you
here.
so much. I thank you so much for everything. Thank you for being an advocate. We're all in this together.
Absolutely, Molly.
Remember,
And
Mag was saying at the beginning, where we go one, we go all. They ain't lying, so let's fight back.
let's fucking do it. Yes. And so
Yeah.
everybody, Molly's links will be in the show notes. Please go support her everywhere. And like she said, on her blog, which I highly encourage you guys to read, all of her socials on there just to make it easy. But I'll have the rest of her social down below as well. Very, very revealing what she shares. And you guys can keep up with her and go support her, rally around her, encourage her just like she does all of us. And just give her your support. She deserves it so much. So you guys, thank you so much for listening. God bless you all. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.